Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today we are doing Ethan's top 10 board games of all time. Uh, Ethan and I have done quite a few videos now since we initially started the Sixth Siege, and have kept in contact. So I'm like, we're becoming friends, right?
I'd say so.
You're like, no, man, this is
Eventually,
purely.
we'll get to play games together, but it just keeps getting postponed
I know, right?
month by month. Yeah,
That's what happens whenever you turn 30,
yeah, no
and
kidding.
become an
When you get a
adult.
puppy, yeah,
Yeah, it just gets increasingly more difficult to do things. But
hmm
thanks to the internet, we're able to still come up with some very fun ideas. And I've done this a few times where it's like I usually do a top 100 every year. So I don't do my top 10 um, games because obviously that'll come up whenever I get to that section in the top 100. Uh, but whenever I have frequent people on the channel, I like to share and showcase what their top 10 games are because if we continue to do videos, people can hopefully what's the word? Like kind of like I'm totally drawing a blank on the word, but oh, relate. They can like relate to you and
hmm
your opinions and be like, okay, this guy really likes the same games that I do. What are his 10 favorite to go check out? And it
yeah.
also potentially will give us a uh nice discussion video because I have no idea what you would pick for
hmm
your top 10. I have a few.
I went through his list and picked all of his least favorite games and made that my top 10.
Oh God, what would my number one game
Number
be?
one, Ankh. Number
Yeah,
two,
it might be Ankh
yeah.
actually as my mode as my I had a plan to do a top 50 worst games, but
hmm
as I was talking about like 50 and as I was going down, I realized I didn't care enough to
Yeah,
shit on games. I'm like, look, like if I dislike a game, it's at that moment in time. Like
yeah.
a week goes by and I'm like,
It's
I
just you're
don't care.
apathetic to it at that point. Like I don't
Yeah,
play it anymore. Who cares?
exactly. It's like I
Yeah.
didn't like it. I don't have to play it because I have a million games.
Yeah, that's how I feel
So
when people like I know it's not part of the video, but when people talk about how much they hate a show that they're watching, and I'm like, just stop watching it. Like
just
you don't
watch
have to
it.
watch the show. Like just
Exactly.
don't watch it. Yeah,
But it's people who can't fathom the fact or let other people like stuff.
yeah, weird.
It's just like I hate it so much that I want other people to hate it, and it's
Yeah,
like go touch grass.
let me
Like
make a 9 hour video essay about how this is the worst thing to ever come out.
exactly. It's like, dude,
Okay,
like you're difficult to be around.
no kidding. Yeah.
But normally in my top 10 videos, I ask, what was your method of making the list? But in this
Mhm.
case, you just went with your favorites, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I was going to explain some of the caveats with my list. Caveat number one is that unlike Seth, I have not played that many games. Like in the grand scheme, um, I don't know if I don't have a count, but I don't know if I've played more than 150 games. Maybe I don't even know if I've played 100. Like when I was thinking about it, so that's the big thing. And the reason is simple is just because when I was getting into games when I was younger, I didn't have money, so I
Yeah.
couldn't go through this like dope like exploration phase where I'm playing every game. Like I couldn't afford that, so it
You
was
didn't
like
rack up credit cards,
no,
credit
I
card
didn't.
debt for
Like
board
when I
games?
turns out when I was 13, like every once in a blue moon, I would get 30 or $40 and I would go buy the one game that I was into and that's all I could play for a while. And that's just
Yeah.
kind of how it worked. And by the time I got old enough with, disposable money, I'd kind of developed a taste for the kinds of games that I liked. And now I don't
Mhm.
just go out and buy a million games because I also just even though I have more money, I don't have that kind of money. So that's like the big thing is like I don't play, so I'm not like kickstarting 100 games every year. I know
Yeah.
you've played hundreds of games. I just don't. I'm not like
Yeah.
that. Like
I would probably be in the same boat as you because if I didn't run the channel, like,
yeah.
because when I was younger, so I've probably been doing my channel for like 10 years now, which if you
hmm
look at my subscriber count, it's just like, oh, that does not bode well for
Yeah.
doing it for 10 years. But I've luckily always maintained the hobby
hmm
mentality with the channel. Uh, but back then, I had a tendency for getting really into something and then quitting. But
Yeah.
kind of like, when you're 21, you don't have disposable income. So I was worried that I would spend money I didn't have
Yeah.
and then quit doing it. So the channel popped up of like, hey, this will be an excuse to keep playing games.
Yeah.
And
For me
then,
too is like Oh, I totally just. Oh yeah, wait. What was I gonna say? I don't remember. You can finish
Well,
what you were saying.
I was just gonna say, and because I wanted to stay relevant, at least with content, that's why I back so many games.
Yeah,
Over the past few years, I have slowed down on just backing games to back them. It's
yeah.
like if it's good, I'll find a way to get it, or it'll be reprinted. Like I have no interest in Slay the Spire, for example, the board
Hmm.
game, because I have the video game and it's a roguelike deck builder.
Yeah,
But everyone kept raving about it, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I bet I might actually play it more if it's co-op, so I'll
yeah.
eventually get it. Um,
I'm the kind of guy that like I won't not even just Kickstarter, but I won't go into a I'm very, very cautious when I back stuff on Kickstarter.
mhm,
Like I have to look at it and be like, does this look like one, something I would enjoy, but two, that I could actually get people to play? And
yeah,
if one of those is no, I don't back it. And when I don't just go to a board game store and just buy a game that looks interesting off the shelf. I have to go and like research and be like, okay, like,
yeah,
is this thing like something I could like, you know? So like I leave the blind playing games for when I'm at a con and I can try games for free. So that's kind of
mhm,
why I don't play as many games. So like
yeah,
I'm sure as we go through my list, there are many games that I might even like more than the stuff I have on this list, but I haven't played them. So
yeah.
like these are my favorites of the one that I've played. I know that there are other games. I'm sure Brass Birmingham is a great game, but I haven't played Brass Birmingham. Maybe it could be on my top 10.
It's
I don't
okay.
know. Maybe On Mars could be on my top 10. I don't know. I haven't played it. So like that's kind of the reality, you know.
Sure. Hey,
But
I mean, it's your top 10.
that's true.
So, did
Yeah,
you
I don't have to
do
apologize.
yeah, right? Did you do an honorable mention?
I did do an honorable mention,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Well, with enough preamble out of the way, I'm curious as to actually, I'm gonna do something real that I've never done before. I'm gonna pull up
We're gonna compare
my top 100 and see
where
if
they
they're
are.
like if yeah if they're on there
Hmm.
and where they're at. They might not be. I mean,
Yeah,
you've probably played games that I haven't played. Uh
probably. I don't
but
know. We'll
I
see.
also where is it? I'll find it. But yeah, we can go ahead and get started with
Mhm.
your honorable mention.
So my honorable mention was an easy pick. This is the game that really got me into um board games. Like this is the one that like I mean just blew my mind as a younger person and like this is the reason that I continue to buy and play board games because I'm still seeking the high from this game. And even though as I've gotten older there are better games than this, like this will always have a special place in my heart for that reason. So there are really three games that were influential to me and the kind of games that I like. The first one was when my family introduced me to Settlers of Catan. I think that's
Okay.
it's a many people's gateway. I don't really like that game anymore. You know, it's boring. There are other better games that I like to play, but
Mm,
that was like the first big one. Like when I was very little, I was playing Catan from like 6 or 7. Like that's
yeah.
how I was playing Catan. And then there was Cosmic Encounter, which absolutely blew my mind when I played it. I was like 10 or 11. I
Hmm.
didn't know games could be that social, could be that political. Like I loved that stuff. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't just we're playing a game, but like part of the game is the social interaction with everybody, with the players. I, dude, ate that up. Loved Cosmic Encounter. And then finally, this is the one that like, I mean, this is the one that really
But
got me
real quick,
obsessed
so
with games.
Cosmic is ooh, oh man. This
Heroscape.
Heroscape is now I don't remember anything about how this game plays.
Yeah.
But what I do remember is playing this when I was a kid as
Yeah.
well.
Hmm.
And then for some reason I got rid of it and now it's $1 million.
I still have my stuff actually.
Do you really?
I have some fun stories about this game. Yeah. What were you gonna say about Cosmic real quick before we get into
I was just gonna say
Heroscape?
Cosmic was one of the first games I played also when I got into the hobby, and
Yeah.
it's the only game that to me has the the loudest truth on the back of the box where it's like no two games will ever be the same.
Yep.
And it's like that is
Exactly.
so true
It's
with
so
that
true.
game.
Not just the yeah, that game's great. Not just the palette table politics, but the wacky alien powers, which are just totally game breaking, and it's not balanced, and I love it. Like it's so unapologetic about that.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
balanced in player powers alone, but that's where the
Yes,
negotiation
yeah.
comes in.
So I truthfully I think I've kind of I don't know if I'd say soured on Cosmic, but I just haven't played it. Like I've moved on to other games, you know,
Yeah.
and I'll still play it every once in a while, and it never quite reaches the reason it's not on this list is as I've played it recently, anytime I've played it recently, it's never hit that high that I remember when I was younger. Like I used to
Gotcha.
ride high on that game. And now it's like kind of fun and goofy, but it never, I don't know what it is. Maybe I just had bad aliens or whatever. And
Hmm.
and I haven't played it in a while, but the last couple times I played it, I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
like it's just not quite. It doesn't hit that memory that I remember of it. But that we're not talking about Cosmic. We're talking about Heroscape.
Right.
Um, this game is has spoiled me for so many years. Like one of the reasons. So if people don't know what this game is, I mean, it's a miniatures army skirmish game. It's basically um, family friendly Warhammer 40K. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much exactly what it is.
It's like an
And
8-year-old's what if,
oh yeah,
like,
and the things that are going for this is that one, the miniatures all came pre-painted.
hmm
And I gotta tell you, that spoiled me because when I started learning about Warhammer, I was like, oh, like a bigger Heroscape? Dope. And then I learned I had to construct and paint the minis myself. No. Like I was like, bro, Heroscape's been painting minis for
Do
years.
you have to
I'm
make them?
sure.
I didn't know you had to make Warhammer
No,
minis. I just
you
thought you had
didn't.
to.
They just got them. Yeah. And probably this is why Heroscape went out of business, because I bet you that took too much time and resource to paint all the minis. I'm sure that was one of the big reasons.
I
Because
have a vague feeling that the original box, oh, what was the base game called? Anyway, I feel like it was $20.
yeah, it was very cheap. It was like 40. It was like very affordable.
Okay,
Back
something
when it
like
first
that.
came out. Because here's this thing with me and Heroscape. When I learned about Heroscape, it was after the craze. So it was when Heroscape was ridiculous. It still is ridiculously expensive. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. The second thing going forward is the map. Look at this thing.
yeah,
They came with these giant, dope terrain pieces, different terrain types, different colors, pre-painted as well. And you would set up a new unique battlefield every time. And I mean,
yeah.
this is a picture you can just look up Heroscape maps and see some of the crazy stuff that people built. It was insane what you could do with the modular tiles in this game.
Yeah.
And so the table presence of Heroscape to this day, I actually think is still unrivaled by like and yet for the price you could get
Well,
you for the
yeah,
price,
yeah.
like insane. Like
Because
this is like look at this. This looks incredible,
because
and
now, yeah, now the closest thing you get is like Fantasy Flight's New Descent, where it's 3D cardboard
yeah,
pieces. Which,
cardboard.
well, I mean, it's still really cool. Like
Yeah.
that's what
I
makes like
mean,
because board games. I mean, if you think about it, it's just like
yeah,
how can we make this as close to a video game as possible? Well, you make
exactly.
it 3D, but then
Make it
sometimes it
3D.
becomes a pain.
Yeah, this was not a
Um,
pain. These were, I mean, yeah, it's a pain to
well,
store,
yeah,
but to put it together is super easy because they all just interlock and they stack
true.
very simply. And like it was a breeze to set up and put these down.
I
And it looks
remember
incredible.
like this would have been like 5 or 6 years ago. I was like, you know what? I really want to get back into this, and I bought someone's copy, and I got
Mhm.
it all in, looked at it, and I was like, I don't want this anymore. And I resold it because I realized I didn't want to take the hour to set it up.
Yeah. I see when I was younger and even still like the setting up is like some of the most fun. Like what kind of battlefield am I going to build this time?
Mm,
It was always different. Like what kind of thing am I going to shape? And well, the reason this is also so iconic for me is one, I hit it at the time where my family couldn't afford it anymore because it was so expensive,
yeah,
which I think fueled the flames for how obsessed with it I was because I could not have it. The
right.
only set that my parents could afford it was right at the tail end. It was the D&D set, which was a
Okay.
tiny, tiny set. It had like 10 characters in it and it had like maybe 40 pieces of terrain and that was all I had for a long time. Like I took pieces from other games and custom made characters so I could build bigger armies. And here's my fun story is we had moved and we were renting a farmhouse in Indiana at a certain time and there was this separate garage outside. And one time I was exploring around the garage and you will never believe I found a full complete original master set
That is
in the garage.
insane.
And we asked the homeowners about it, and they're like, "Yeah, you can have that." So I got like the master set with all the characters and all the terrain for free. And to this day, that's the stuff I have. I have the D&D
Wow.
set, I have one castle set, and the one original master set. And so like I wanted others. Like for instance, this lava and this ice set, they were super expensive. I couldn't
Oh
get
yeah.
those. Like and
You
I
mean
had friends.
you didn't back the reprint of for $800
Oh,
or did
dude,
you?
don't listen. No, like that's
Okay.
another fun story is when they were rebooting it last year, I was so excited. And it was so expensive, like
Yeah.
ridiculously expensive.
Well, it
I
was
can't remember.
originally who was someone was re who was gonna they were gonna reprint it,
Yeah.
canceled it
Yeah.
because I don't think anyone was paying for it, and I think someone else picked it up.
Oh, well, there was the Magic the Gathering reboot, the
Yeah,
Magic the
that
Gathering board game, which was basically Heroscape, which by the way, also really good.
I've
I
heard
have
that's
that
not
one
bad.
too.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy that. And I would just use my Heroscape stuff with that game as well. I actually really like the Magic the Gathering board game. And I wish that one kind of took off because I really enjoyed that game. Um, um, and yeah, then Hasbro tried to reboot it last year and they launched it, like if they launched it on Kickstarter, I guarantee
Yeah,
you this thing could have
that's
done
right. They were
buco
trying
bucks,
to
but
do like their own
they launched it on their own little
pre-orders.
Hasbro app, and it was like a pain just to figure out where to even go to back this thing. And they were
Yeah.
asking for a lot of money, and
Hmm.
it was expensive. It was an expensive set, so you really couldn't buy multiple, which is what you want to do because it was like $250 for one original unpainted set.
Yes.
And they like capped you that you could only buy five at a time. So even if you wanted to buy a lot more and support the campaign, if you had that much money, you couldn't because you could only buy five. And
Yeah.
nobody knew about it because like it was on their Hasbro app and it failed spectacularly.
Yeah.
And now they're rebooting it again this year. Have you seen that?
Yes. No. So that succeeded, I believe, because Renegade picked it up.
Yeah.
I'm on Board Game Geek and I was looking it up, but I think it's just the base game again.
So I was looking at it. No, there's the base set unpainted for like $100. Not bad. I might get that one. And then they already have some extra, like they have it in waves. So they have some waves coming out.
Okay.
So like some extra terrain. I can send you the link to the site if you're interested in looking at it. But yeah, sorry. So that was a long story to basically say this is like one of the most influential games. The game is also fun. I should say it looks great. It was fun. It's a very simple version of Warhammer 40K basically. If you don't want to buy 18,000 rule books to play Warhammer, you
Yeah.
can buy this, and the rule book is like 8 pages long, and it's I mean it's fun. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what
Yeah.
else to
Your
say. It's just
team
a
can
good game.
consist of like I'm gonna have an angel, a regular army guy, a
Yeah.
dragon, fight, an elf, um,
hmm You can got Marvel
and
characters in there, D&D characters
yeah,
in there. Yeah. Yeah, so my Heroscape stuff, I wish I had it. It's not in my house now. It's in my parents' house because they didn't have room for it in the move. But I'm gonna get it back eventually.
yeah.
Because it's just a good solid game. The Magic board
You're
game
gonna
is too
you'll be
good
like,
too.
hey mom, dad, where's my Heroscape stuff? Oh well, we took it back to the
No, they still
farm.
have it. They still have it. I won't let them throw it away.
We sold
It's too
it.
nostalgic for me. Yeah, no. So Heroscape, this is the one. Like, and it's like when you take those three games together, Heroscape, Catan, and Cosmic Counter, they kind of form the basis for like my taste in games, and you can kind of see the influences throughout the whole list. I think, um, which will be pretty fun. So I like big miniatures, skirmish games. I like negotiation games with trading, and I like asymmetric games, right? And then I like a mix with all three of those at
Yeah.
once. So you can already kind of see why I like those kinds of games and why those are the ones I seek out because of those three original games and especially Heroscape have always kind of informed. Like I'm always seeking those kinds of experiences with things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, I guess we can get into the top 10. This is the dexterity game that I have on my list, and I think it might be a vanilla pick, but it just kind of, I think it's a great game. It's a very simple game. It's
Ooh.
just Crokinole. It's dope. I picked this game because without fail, every time I bust this out and I introduce it to somebody, we always have a good time. And it's one of those when you start to, you don't think about it sometimes, but every time you start playing it, you can sink hours into it without thinking because it's just so much fun. So like everybody I've introduced it to, people who hate games, people who love games and think, well, this isn't a game. Like whatever, every time we play it, people always have a good time. And we always play like, 10 games in a row. I like both the 1v1, I like the 2v2 mode. I mean, it's just one of those addicting kinds of games.
Yeah. I mean, surprise, surprise, Crokinole is not in my top 100.
Nice.
But last year at Gen Con, a buddy of mine, he wanted kind of like a set piece, just kind of dexterity kind of game. So he actually bought like a whole thing of
Yeah.
Crokinole. And when we were all playing, because it was the 2v2, he was the only one getting mad because
Yep.
he was like really bad at it.
Oh yeah. It's one of those
Uh,
games that will frustrate you so much, but
Especially
also
if
the
you're on a
high.
team, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. All I need you to do is like, I'm on the edge, just like knock me in, and okay, cool, you knocked me off the
Nothing.
board. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People get so mad. I love playing this game with my wife because she gets so into it, but she's so competitive. She gets so angry every time she misses a shot. We'll play like 3 or 4 games in a row, and if she gets on like a bad streak, she'll go tilt, like full tilt easily in this game. And she just gets madder and madder as we go. And then she'll like make one shot out of like the 15 shots she's missed, and she'll start smack talking so hard. It's
right.
hilarious. Yeah. I have a board. Usually it's over there, but I don't know. I
Hmm.
think I have it in my closet right now. But yeah, I have this board right here. And truthfully, it was it's probably the most expensive game. Actually, no, Six Sieges. But if it weren't for Six Siege because of the extra contribution, I think I spent like $400 on like a really nice board of
Whew.
this. It was like an investment, and I think it's
Yeah,
worth it because the hours I've gotten out of it and the amount of people I've gotten to play this. I mean, I think that's worth it
it's so
easily.
good and it's so simple. Like it's literally just like you just flick and you just have to make it into that hole. That's
Yeah.
it. I don't even
Yeah.
know if there's like extra points or other ways to play like darts or something
I'm
where it's
pretty
like, hey,
sure I'm
here's new
sure there's
modes
many
of
modes.
Crokinole,
I'm
but
sure there's modes for sure. Yeah, but it's one of those simple games anybody can play. Like it
hmm
doesn't matter. I've never seen anybody who's like, I don't like Crokinole. Like you're gonna have fun with Crokinole. Like let's be real. Like it's just a
Yeah,
good
and the
time.
thing is like because a lot of flicking games for dexterity hurts my hand, like my fingernail. It's like ping. Okay, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Um, come
I
in with like a,
actually
a finger splint.
I just do a push. I don't even flick anymore. I
That's
just
actually
push.
illegal. And
Yeah.
you're
I
doing illegal
also
moves.
love that in the official rules of Crokinole, you have to have one butt cheek on your chair.
Oh,
Like you
is
can't
that
move the
true?
chair. Yeah, you can't stand up or move. Like as long as you have a butt cheek planted on the chair, like that's fine.
That's funny.
Or I think there's some rules where like you just can't move like at all. Like you can't move your butt at all. Like you have to like lean, you know. But I just love that in the rules it's like, hey, you can't move, or you have to keep one side of you on the chair,
Man,
which is
I
funny.
imagine going to a Crokinole tournament and they have like a butt judge.
Yeah.
He's
Just
just down
oh,
like
he's got half a
squatting.
cheek hanging off. Excuse me, disqualified.
Judge, judge.
Crokinole tournaments are actually really hilarious to watch because, like, I guess Crokinole is just one of those games that's more fun when you're bad. Because if you watch a tournament, it's just like, all right, he sunk a 20, and he sunk a 20, and all right, he sunk a 20, and then every once in a while, oh, he missed,
Right.
and then he sunk a 20, and you're like, okay, like it's really funny to watch. Yeah,
Yeah. This is a good pick. Crokinole's always a good time.
yeah. I think it's just, I mean, I think it's a timeless game for a reason. It's dope. Okay, my number nine is this is the tentative one I was talking about this with Seth before
Sexy.
we started.
The sexy pick right here.
Yeah, so my number nine is Root, and there's kind of an asterisk on this one, and I know it's kind of controversial, but I was kind of debating on putting this one here. I was debating between three games. I was debating between Root, I was debating between the Dune board game, which I really
Okay.
like. The reason I went with Root is because I've just played it more than Dune, even though I really like the Dune board game, the original one, not Dune Imperium. Even though I like the Dune board game, I've played this one a lot more. And the third one is, truthfully, I think in time, Arcs is going to dethrone Root in my top 10. And I know you don't like
Yeah.
that game, which is okay.
We
Listen,
always bring it up.
I know. This is what's gonna define our relationship is our different opinion on arcs. But uh, basically, the reason I haven't done that is because arcs is new, and so even
Yeah.
though I've played arcs a bunch, like I think I'm like 45 games in on arcs right now. The reason is I'm like, well, it's brand new. I've only been playing that one for like a year, but mostly the past 2 months,
hmm
and I've been playing Root for 3 years. So I think like for now, I think Root is definitely here in the top 10, while arcs is not because arcs is new. But I'm almost pretty I think about 85% confident Arcs is going to dethrone Root. I think Arcs, we were just kind of talking about this beforehand. Arcs is just a more stable experience across player counts, across player
True.
experiences. Like we were just talking about how we don't like teaching Arcs or
No,
teaching
teaching
Root.
root.
We don't like teaching Root. The other thing for me is like playing, even people who know how to play but have different experiences, or if they haven't played it in a while, it's always a bear.
hmm
There's like a level of babysitting you feel like you have to do, which isn't fun. And also like the player count, like it says it's a 2 to 6 player game. No, it's a
Definitely
3 to 4 player game.
yeah.
I know people play with the bots. I don't like playing the bots. People play with the
Well, because
hirelings. I
someone
haven't
else
played
is
them
gonna have to
yet.
manage it,
Someone's gonna have to
and
manage it. Yeah. So like for me, it's like it's got to be a 3 or 4 player game, and then sometimes you can just get a weird mix of factions that you're like, oh, well, this kind of like isn't as good. So like, but all that to say, there are a lot of highs with Root. Like there's a
hmm
reason, like I just said a lot of bad things, but like the asymmetric factions are great. The art is incredible. The highs you get in this game are dope. The fun of learning each new faction and then learning to seeing what happens when you mix and match the different
yeah,
because they're basically there's always like 4 different games in a game of Root that are mixed mashed together. And that's
yeah,
just fun. It's fun to see how that happens. The theme is great. Yeah, the gameplay is good. I think eventually Arcs is just going to dethrone this because it's just a little bit more stable across all the design elements.
yeah. That's definitely
Obviously.
true. It depends on the kind of experience you're wanting. I think what will make or break arcs
Mhm.
is support. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
like
true.
I mean, if they just quit supporting it, I mean, it took what a couple of years before an Oath expansion came out.
Yeah. Oath
Like I
is a much
think
more niche game though, so
it
that
is,
doesn't
it is.
surprise
I
me.
mean, arcs definitely is more mainstream.
Yeah.
But
They've unlike Root, they've designed arcs to be expanded in the future. Like Root, they kind of had to like kind of be like, oh, let's make Jigger so we can include more factions, which they've talked about. By the
yeah,
way, they just announced when we're recording this video the Kickstarter date for the new faction expansion, which We were both talking about
Yes.
how excited we are.
Yeah, I sent
Uh,
that to you. I'm like, do you see this sexy
yeah.
pic? You probably
So,
saw that message and you're like, okay, dude, like I don't
yeah,
know you
what is
that well. It's like me.
yeah, what's going on? Yeah. Oh, so no. So even though I've just said, yeah, there are all these things that I like about arcs and how I think arcs might, take this spot in the top 10, I still love Root. And if you've seen my channel, you know that this is a big deal that it's even in the top 10 at all. That's even including the conversation because when I first played this game, I hated it.
Yeah.
Just like how Seth will come around on arcs. I hated Root for a long, long time. Like I played it for a solid year hating it
Yeah.
until I finally, like, very slowly came around on it. It was kind of an enemies to lovers story, and the reason that happened is because my best friend, this is his favorite game, and that's why I kept playing with him because he liked
Hmm.
it, but I really didn't like it for a long time. And so what's funny is like. I used to hate this and trash talk it and trash talk all leader games because I'm like, oh, they're all like Root, like, and now I'm
I
like the
mean, at the
hardest
time,
defender of both Root and leader games. Like I'm
yeah.
like the big fan of all their stuff now, which is really funny.
Have
So
you played Vast?
that's the one I haven't played yet. I haven't
Okay.
played Fast yet. Yeah.
So I remember when Vast came out and it was like, oh, asymmetric, and I played it, and the difference with Vast is you're an enemy to one other person playing. So
Okay.
if you're playing the warrior, your only way to win is to kill the dragon. The
Yeah.
dragon is trying to escape. The goblins are trying to kill the warrior, and then someone's playing the cave, and the cave's trying to kill everyone.
Like I've heard it's like the most asymmetric of all their
It
games.
is no, I'd still say
Okay.
Root is more asymmetric at this point because there's so many factions.
Yeah.
Um, but that to me was kind of a problem, was it's like
Hmm.
you're very one note about what you do
Yeah.
uh in Vast. So I didn't like Vast when it came out, and then I was hesitant on Root,
Hmm.
and I don't remember why this game just clicked for me. Because
Yeah.
kind of like what you're saying is I completely agree. If I had to choose a game to teach to new players, I mean, I love Root way more than Arcs, but it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is where your intelligence level, not intelligence, but like your gaming level is.
Yeah.
Arcs is going to be a lot more easier to grasp.
For sure.
But
And
man,
everybody will get into it, like into the strategy faster. That's the other thing. It's like Root you can teach, and then it's gonna take several games
yeah,
before
yeah,
like people
yeah,
are
yeah,
like good, which
yeah.
is fine. Like
But
I
for
like
a
that kind of
war
investment.
game, I
Yeah.
think Root's highs. And I mean, I'm curious to see where you think. I think the highs of Root are going to be higher than the highs of Arcs.
Maybe. Because then with Arcs we got the whole. I know we're talking about Root, but with Arcs you got the whole base game, and you got the campaign, which is a whole different beast. But like the
Yeah,
campaign is definitely on the same level as
yeah.
Root,
And just
as far as like
the fact
asymmetric
with
and highs.
the Root, the reach system, I think
Mhm.
fixes that weird
I
combination of factions where it's like, ooh,
Yeah,
this game doesn't work anymore.
advanced setup helped Root a
Yeah.
lot for sure. But I think that's one of the. I want to talk good about Root because I feel like I'm trashing on Root. I don't mean to. Like I love Root. Like the art's incredible. With all the expansions now, like I do think it is a much more like complete game, and I'm interested to see what the new stuff is. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, like I like it, and also they have an RPG for this game, and it is like the only RPG I want to play right now. Like because I love the world of Root. Like the world of Root is so cool. I spend a lot of time world building my little version of Root for whenever I can run the Root RPG because I just like I don't know. There's just something that like sparks my imagination about not just like the art of this game, but just the way the factions work is so evocative. Like I can just
Hmm.
see the story when you play Root so clearly, and
Well, it seems like
like
it'd be very grounded.
yeah,
Like you can take and be like, oh, this is the government of the Erie. That's
exactly.
very similar to this old school government.
Yep.
And you kind of play them out that way. Yeah, I remember seeing the RPG and I was like, what the hell? Because now there's so many games coming out that are RPGs, Tainted Grail RPG,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, you're not going to be better than D&D. You're going to be so limited. So I'm hesitant on RPGs like this, where it's like I loved RPGs for the fact of like I can literally do whatever I want.
Yeah.
In Root, it's just like, well, no, you can't.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I kind of like root some of the limit. We're not talking about the Root RPG. I feel like we should move on. We could do a whole thing on this. We could talk about the Root RPG later. I think we're losing the sauce on the top 10.
Anyway,
That's
Root
another
made it,
discussion.
Arcs didn't because
Arcs
Arcs
didn't.
is trash.
Yeah, Arcs is
And
0
that's
out of 10.
really where
Yeah,
it came
that's
down.
what
You could
matters.
your top 10 games, you've played more tons of games of Arcs. You could have put that in here, but you
I
didn't
just
because you know
yeah,
deep down
that is
that
better.
it's a flawed
Yeah.
game.
No, I just think I just don't want I don't I'm trying to fight against recency bias. That's the big thing. Is
Yeah.
like I want to see I think arcs will stand the test of time, but I don't know if it will maybe in a year I won't like arcs anymore, and that'll be fun to see, you know.
That would be
So
fun to see.
yeah,
And
that's why
I'll
it's
be
on the
like,
top list, and
we're
you
gonna
can win,
swap.
and
I'm
we
like,
can swap.
dude, you were
Arcs is
right.
so
Arc is so
good,
good. And you're
and I'm
like,
like, it's
no, you were
trash.
right. Arc
Yeah,
sucks.
that's what we'll do.
Yeah,
So we'll see. We'll come back in a
Root's
year here.
fantastic. This is the first one on the top on Root for last year was number 16,
Hmm.
which rose actually in 2021 it was number 27,
Yeah,
and in 2022 it was number 10. So
yeah,
it's been hovering up. It just depends on how often I play it. But one thing I will say about this is what makes Root so fantastic is that like the last game I played was between the Lord of Hundreds, the Keepers of Iron, and the Lizard Cult,
fun. That sounds
and
fun.
it was a blast.
Yeah.
And I had one new player, and he played the Keepers of Iron, and I was like, okay, whatever, we'll see if you can figure it out. And he did not do bad. He came in third,
Hmm.
but
That's a
he
tough one.
he still hit like 20 plus points, which is not nothing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, you just had that war game of the Lord of Hundreds keeping my cult in check, and I was like, yes,
Yeah.
keep killing them. Um, it was fantastic, and you can have a ton of different mix and matches with
Yep.
a three-player game that is
Plus,
radically different. I didn't have to play the cult; I could have played the Corvid and kept the two factions the same and
mhm.
one new one or one different one, and it's a different game.
Yeah, it's one of those like it's a great game. It's just you just have to know if you have to know going in, it is a 3 to 4 player game.
Hmm.
And if you're playing anything other than just the base box, I think advanced setup is pretty much required
Yeah,
personally, which is like that's the reason it's lower. It's like it's a little bit more brittle, right?
yeah.
And then like the last couple games I played is like there have been different experience levels or people who it's been a while since we played. And
Hmm.
when I play this with like my regular friend group, like when we play the digital app online or we go to BGG Con and it's like, cool, this is our year, we get to play Root. Like that's awesome, great. Like we've
Yeah,
all played Root for years, like we play it, boom, incredible, right? So because we've all put that investment into it and it's awesome. But anytime you get a different mix, it's just a little bit weird and a little bit more brittle. So that's why it's
sure.
lower. So, but it's a great game. I feel like we've spent more time trash talking it, but I think I'm downplaying
You
how much.
did.
Yeah, me. I think I'm downplaying how much I think Root is great, but
Yeah.
I do think they've improved since Root, but that's fine. Okay, we spent too long on Root. It's a good game. I love it. Let's move on to number 8. And if I remember correctly, I think I remember what my number 8 is. This is one that I include on top list. It's a very simple game, but it's one that I have spent hours and hours playing with my friends, and that is The Crew. So it's a very simple, it's a cooperative trick-taking game where you can't talk to each other during the game. And like it's not that complex, it's not that deep. I know I said I like social games. You can't really talk in this game. But
Yeah.
listen, like I've played this with my friends and my family for hours. And some of my favorite memories are as I was wrapping up college, as me and my friends in the dorm room, for those like last month or so that we had together where we were living together, we were playing The Crew every night because we would just sit around and we would just talk, just hang out, throw some music on in the background and play The Crew. And it was one of those games where like it was one of those where it's like, well, let's just play one more. Well, we got to beat that. Let's just try it
Yeah.
again. And what would happen is we'd accidentally stay up till 2 or 3 a.m. just playing The Crew and hanging out and
Yeah.
having fun. And like that's like, and I've had the same experience with my wife, had the same experience with my family.
Is
So
this specifically Quest for Planet Nine, or
I
do
like
you have?
both.
Okay,
Yeah, I
because
think they're
I
both good.
know Quest for Planet Nine for me was, I mean, it was okay, but I thought Mission Deep Sea, I think it's Mission Deep Sea,
Yeah.
was better.
Yeah.
Um,
They do some interesting stuff with how you do the tasks in Mission Deep Sea, which is cool.
although
Yeah.
this is actually the one I own,
Yeah, I have both. And I like both. So
which
like
led
I
me
think they're
into a
mostly
false
the
sense of
same.
security because I was like, I like trick taking, and then I
Yeah.
realized all the trick taking games I own are actually
Cooperative.
cooperative,
Yeah. Oh, I
and then
love
I
the crew.
play
I love arcs.
and
It
then
all comes
then
back
I
to
play a
arcs.
competitive one, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't like trick taking apparently.
Yeah. So this one is just like I think this is just a great. That's why I joked when we were doing our review thing. I said, "Ha, the crew's 10 out of 10." Like for me, like it is. Like it's just I can. It's like Crokinole. I can play with pretty much everybody,
Yeah,
and everybody has a good time. And it's such one of those like even though it's a small simple game, like there's something about it. It's just like I think just because it's one of those you can just play while you're hanging out with friends, and
yeah.
you're just having a good time, and it
This is like a
facilitates
board
that.
gamer's version of Sequence. Like
Yeah.
every frat boy I knew like was an alcoholic and loved Sequence.
Yeah.
This is the nerds version of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And like there is strategy. Like when you get to those harder missions, like
hmm
it is actually really, really like you do have to sit down and be like, all right, we've got to
It's
think
like,
about this.
okay,
Yeah.
why did they give me that
And
info?
exactly. And like if you could like talk with people about what's in your hand and sequence how you beat these hard missions, that would be a good game. But to
Yeah,
take away the ability to communicate is genius. Like
yeah,
the communication device you have that like has you like playing this like 4D chess game with yourself and looking across the table to try and figure out what weird move they're trying to
yeah.
play. Yeah, it's great.
I'm gonna
And
let you
something,
know if we
yeah.
play this whenever we actually get together.
hmm
Any like word association or hint giving kind of game, I am
Bad.
awful. I love
Okay.
these games. I love
Yeah.
these types of hint games. I feel like I'm incredibly strategic and good at strategy games. But if we're
hmm
playing code names, you're gonna be like, what level of autistic is this? Like, dude, like how did you give me that clue? And
Yeah.
then I'll be able to walk you through my process and you're like, okay.
Oh,
And then
I
what
guess
I'll
I could see
do
that.
is you're right, and then I'll change my way of hints to
hmm
match you, and then you'll swap to try and think like me, and then we'll still be bad.
Yeah, and it's still we
But
won't get
they're
anything.
fun.
Yeah. I tried to play Codenames one time at like this party, and the guy who just explained it really bad. And I know it's like a simple game and people like it, but that one experience I had, I was like, man, this game sucks. But I know it's a fun game, you know. But yeah, I think the
Have you
crew,
beat all 50 missions?
no.
No.
No, there was a while where we were like when my friends were in the dorm when we were going through it, but we never like beat it, which is fine. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Like I didn't think like, oh yeah, we have to beat all 50 missions. And now when I
hmm
play it, I just kind of like flip through the book and I look at the players. I'm like, yeah, I think we could play this one. I just like start somewhere like
hmm
in the middle. I'm like, all right, let's just play. Let's do this random mission. And if it's too hard, we'll take it back a couple steps. And if we beat
Yeah.
it easily, all right, let's move
Because
on. So
they increase in difficulty, right?
yeah,
Okay, that's what I thought. The crew is number 260 for me, at least
okay.
based off last year. So
I
it
mean that's
is
fair.
considered when I do my top 100, I actually only, so for the past couple of years, I've only considered games I own. Because if
hmm
I'm going to go out and say, here are my top 100 games of all time, and I don't own some of them,
Yeah, it's weird.
that's just my own personal thing. So I do own it, and it is considered. And even some games I own, I won't put into the ranking because it's like there's no way like this
hmm
is ever making the top 100. But the crew is
Yeah,
thrown in there, so the fact that it has an assigned number
yeah,
is there.
it's there.
But yeah, I'm not upset about this pick. I'm curious if there's gonna
There's
be any game on your top 10 that I'm gonna be like, oh boy.
I know there's one, but
Okay.
we'll get to that. We'll get there. Yeah, this is one of those
Oh,
where like you can't say much more than just like it's good, it's really good. You know,
yeah.
like it's a solid game. Like there's nothing bad in it. You know, it's just a fun time. So, okay, the number seven. I know this is a game that I think we could probably agree on, and this is like another fun like hate to love story with this gaming series. And that is specifically Gloomhaven: Jaws of the Lion. This is my number seven. So. Just to give some context
It's a little
on
too
the
low,
Gloomhaven, that's
but
fine. Yeah,
that's
I get it.
okay.
To give
Should
some
be
context on
number one.
Gloomhaven, my friend, when we were in college, bought Gloomhaven because it was on a sale, and I had never heard about it. It was just funny. Like it was a big deal, and I hadn't heard about it until way after the fact. He's like, "Hey
hmm
man, I got Gloomhaven." And I was like, What is Gloomhaven?" He's like, "It's this campaign game. It's whatever." And it's this ginormous box. And for like the 2 years we were together at school, he's like, "We got to start Gloomhaven." We were all like, "Yeah, let's start Gloomhaven," and then we never did. And then COVID happened,
Yep.
and we had to leave all of our stuff at the dorm. And then they all brought us all back, to come pick up our stuff. And so my friends were all in
Dude, I
town to pick up
completely
their
forgot you
stuff.
were in college when
Yeah, I
COVID
was in
happened.
college. I was in college during COVID. So yeah,
This
I
is
always
weird
love,
for me. It's weird
yeah,
being like relatively so much older than you because I
yeah.
just turned 31
I
like a couple
love when
days
the age
ago.
gap pops up in funny
Yeah,
ways
because
in our
then
videos.
I'm like, oh yeah, he's only a couple years younger than me. Nope. So I
No,
was.
like what,
It's like whenever you have like a
seven or eight?
50-year-old. Yeah, because you're 24, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm 7 years old. Wow. Yeah, 7 years older. Um, but it's like whenever I'd have friends out on my channel who were like in their 50s,
hmm
and I'd make a comment, and they're like, "Wow, I was in high school," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "I get to do that with you."
Yeah. So I was in college during COVID, and they brought us all back to pick up our stuff out of the dorm rooms during the summer. So there was like a weekend where all my friends were together, and we were like, well, we have this one weekend together. So we played TI one day, and
Okay.
then the second day we're like, we're gonna play Gloomhaven. Like we knew we weren't gonna finish it. We were like,
And
let's
this
just
is
play a
OG
scenario or two. This
Gloomhaven.
is OG Gloomhaven.
Okay.
Like we're like, let's just play a scenario or two. Now I want you to keep in mind, my friend has not organized the Gloomhaven box. Okay, because he was like, well, I'll do it when we start playing it. So it's like 10 p.m. We're going over to a friend's house to play Gloomhaven. I almost included that as the picture on this slide. There's this picture, and maybe I'll send it to you so you can see. We
Dude.
spent like 2 hours busting everything out of Gloomhaven, trying to figure out what the heck anything was, what any of the components were, how we were going to put it in the box. We're like picking characters, and again, my friend doesn't know how the game works yet. So he's like looking through he knew like kind of the basics. So he's like looking through the 100-page rule book, like trying for us to learn Gloomhaven. And it's like now almost midnight, and we haven't started yet. Okay. And we start playing. And it was bad. I don't even think we finished. Like it was bad. We weren't playing properly. It was
Is this
stressing
the
all this
same
out. We were
friend?
tired.
Is this the same friend who wanted to play Root at
No,
6 players?
no.
Okay, I was like, that is a ambitious
No,
friend.
no,
If
no. Yeah,
that's
it's the friend who's Root is his favorite game, and he's the
oh,
reason I
okay.
played Root. And we were all like, well, we've played a bunch of games. We played campaign games. We could we'll play Gloomhaven. Like we didn't know. Okay, we had no idea. So like, so we it was just an ill-fated night all around. We like ended at like 1 or 2 a.m. I don't think we finished it. I don't remember. And we were all like, that game sucks, you know. And to be fair, like we all knew as we were getting in, this is the bad. We shouldn't be playing Gloomhaven. Like we knew we
Yeah,
shouldn't be playing it, but it was like it was our last chance to be together for what we thought would be a long time. We didn't know
yeah.
when we could play it again. So I thought, cool, like I know I'm not gonna get Gloomhaven. And then I heard like it was like a year or two later, I heard about Jaws of the Lion. I saw the no pun included review. And like it was like everything they said about it, I was like, oh, that sounds incredible. Like the setup sounds like a breeze. It sounds
Hmm.
like it's much more manageable. There's like 20 missions that they mentioned the tutorial levels. And I was like,
Yes.
and it was, and we passed it at another friend and I were passed it at like a store and it was like $40.
Yeah.
And I
At
was like, hey, do you
Target.
just want to like, I was like,
Yeah.
just want to like try this? Like just again, because I heard this is more onboarding thing. And we played the full 20 game campaign. To this day, it's one of my most favorite gaming experiences was playing through Jaws of the Lion for the first time.
Yeah.
The way it taught us the game, I think is just like if anybody wants to play Gloomhaven, I gotta tell them they have to start with Jaws, in my opinion.
1,000,000%.
A million
I've had
percent.
people say it doesn't matter. Like, someone will ask where to start, and they're like, it doesn't matter.
It's
Like,
gotta be Jaws.
it.
Sorry.
So a buddy of mine who's on my channel pretty frequently, Brad, he hated Gloomhaven. When this came out, it was either his number 10 worst of the year or number
Hmm.
one disappointed.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you, when this came out, I was like, hey man, do you just want to go through the tutorial system with me so I can showcase it? It's
Yeah.
like top five for him now.
Oh yeah. It's so
Um,
good. And it's like it's what's the word? Manageable to accomplish the entire game,
yes, yeah,
Uh
20 solid missions that
20
are backwards compatible
that
with
are good.
Gloomhaven and Frosthaven.
Yeah, and I think the best characters before Frosthaven, when it was just this and Gloomhaven, the best, all four of these characters are like my favorite
Yeah.
out of all like the 10 options you
I
had.
haven't seen Hatchet. No, wait, I
Oh,
have
dude,
seen Hatchet.
Hatchet. This is
Actually,
the
no, I'm
reason
sorry.
he's.
I actually at Gen Con last year, I brought
Mhm,
this with me because a friend of mine, what he got, so he has like a free copy of Frosthaven. He has
yeah,
literally never played any of it, but the people who lived in his apartment beforehand
yeah,
never changed it, and he couldn't
interesting.
contact anyone, so he just has a copy. And I
He
was
just
like,
has copy.
okay, I have Jaws of the Lion with me. We can all play it. So I have played it
Yeah,
with all four of these.
Hatchet. The reason he's front and center is because he's my favorite. He was my first character when we played Jaws, and even when I played Gloomhaven Digital or OG Gloomhaven, the self control takes me to say I'm not gonna play Hatchet again because I love him so much. He is my boy.
Yeah,
I
you
love the
he's
Hatchet.
my boy.
He is my boy. I
This is
feel
a
so
fantasy
attached to the
game.
Hatchet.
Isaac, I mean, there's a reason why Frosthaven broke records
Oh yeah.
for Kickstarter funds and why
Hmm.
he's an actual designer who's a millionaire.
Yeah.
Um, because he just captured lightning in the bottle with Gloomhaven and I mean, he's not like an asshole. Like people are allowed to make content for it and it's
Hmm.
free. Um,
He encourages it.
yeah, I mean, that's why Jaws of the Line with the map book
Okay, that was
is,
the other thing I was going to bring up.
yes,
Genius.
it
10
is.
out of 10.
Oh my
It's
God.
one of those things that like you play it and you're like, this is cool. And then we went and played Gloomhaven, and which by the way, original Gloomhaven, great. We also
Yes.
enjoyed that, had a fun time. Holy cow, we wanted the map book so bad. The tiles suck.
They are
Did
ass.
when they during the big Gloomhaven Kickstarter 2 years ago or a
Hmm.
year ago, when they said they were making the map book for Frosthaven, instant back. Instant
Yep.
back. I have it in
Same.
my box over
Same.
here, dude. I
I
was
do
like, are
too.
you kidding me? And then it made me mad that Gloomhaven second edition they weren't designing. I don't know why they're not designing a map book alongside Gloomhaven
No,
second edition.
they are. I actually listened to a Q&A with Paul Grogan and
Okay.
Isaac. Um, they are going to make a map. I guess I could be completely wrong, but based
Yeah.
off that video I watched, they aren't designing it at the same time because of the resources they needed
I guess that's fair.
to to do it. So because the art books take so much more time than the
I'm
tiles.
sure. Oh yeah, I bet. Because
So
the organization sounds like an absolute nightmare for
yes,
like
because one, I mean, as you are well aware, the Frosthaven map books are four
huge.
books.
Yeah. Some of the
So
maps are huge in Frosthaven.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it makes sense. As far as I'm aware,
That's
they
fair.
are going to do Gloomhaven second edition map books,
Okay.
just
Yeah.
probably
To be
separate.
fair, I wasn't saying that I think it would be easy to put the map book together. I just thought I was surprised they weren't developing it alongside the development of the
Yeah,
game. I thought that seemed like it would be a no-brainer,
you
but I
would think,
mean,
but I think they're also focused on the minis.
that's fair. That's totally fair.
Which yeah, I played for my Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion series. I actually played the Red Guard,
Yeah, he's a
and
fun
he
character.
was a blast too.
He's
Just
a cool character.
they oh, that's what I was also saying, is it's not generic fantasy.
Hmm.
Like unique races. You want to talk about depth, like for like you talk about playing Hatchet over and over. For a lot of fantasy games, that would be boring. But it's
Yeah,
like, oh, I can build him this way. I can do this
exactly.
different type. Oh, okay, who's with me? Who's my team comp?
Hatchet is such a comfort character for me. It's like, oh, I love Hatchet so much. And this right here, these three, I put these three as the picture because this was our original when we played through it the first time. It was
Hmm.
Hatchet and Red Guard for me and my friend, and then we were hyping it up to another friend, and he joined as the Void Warden, and we finished out the
Okay.
campaign that way. And yeah, and it was so much fun.
The
And
Harley
so
Quinn character, she's not Harley
the
Quinn. That's one of my,
Demolitionist,
yeah, the Demolitionist. My friend called her Harley Booms.
that's good. I love that. No,
And
Demolitionist is good
she's a
too.
blast. And they did something so cool with Jaws of the Lion with like the different forms that they all
Hmm.
take.
Yeah.
Man, like where because the Red Guard, he has like the sand tornado that he can like summon around,
The
and then the
Hatchet has his little
Demolitionist.
axe, his little special axe.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, because I don't know what Hatchet or the Void Warden bring. I just know the Red Guard has a sand tornado, and the
Yeah.
Demolitions has like has a
The
mech.
Demolitionist has a mech. The Hatchet has his, so he has his favorite axe, and they give you a little component for the favorite axe because he has his,
Oh,
like his new favorite axe. And then the Void Warden has this really cool, like dope looking scepter that she can like plant in the map, and it like gives buffs and stuff to do. It's
so
really
kind of
cool.
like the banner person
Yeah, it's
from
like the banner.
Frosthaven. Okay,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
cool,
yeah.
cool, cool. Yeah, it's
So, and just like imagine, I think if you wanted to get into any kind of big campaign game, really, like Jaws Line is such a good one to test out with your group. And just the setup is a breeze, the
yeah,
teach is a breeze. Like I can't tell you how much has radically transformed our opinion on Gloomhaven. We
yeah.
went and we played Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven Digital is one of my favorite games to play now. I love playing that. And then obviously you can see we got into Jaws after the Frosthaven Kickstarter. So I had to get
Okay,
Frosthaven secondhand, like on eBay,
yeah.
in order to get Frosthaven. And Frosthaven's great too. And the Gloomhaven minis were also the first minis I ever painted. That's
Oh
another fun
wow.
fact.
Okay,
So yeah, I like the first mini I ever painted was the Brute. From the original game, and then I
nice.
painted Red Guard and Hatchet. So, and then my last fun story about Jaws of the Lion is I was gonna do a video because I think Jaws is such a good way to teach a complicated game. I was trying to do a video where I was gonna see if I could get my wife to play Jaws of the Lion, like if it would teach
Oh,
her.
okay.
But she felt uncomfortable on camera, so we ended up
That's
not doing
fair.
it. But she had fun with Jaws of the Lion, and my wife hates games. Well, she doesn't. Okay, she doesn't hate all games, but she hates like these kinds of big nerdy games.
She hates playing games with you.
Oh, exactly. She
Is
hates me, is actually what it is. Yeah, yeah. And to be fair, there were some rules we were playing wrong. But I wasn't gonna like be a killjoy and be like, no, 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 you have to do this right. There were a couple things that she was doing with the cards. So I was just kind of like, I was letting her vibe. And as
yeah.
we were introducing new rules one at a time, like she was getting into it. We played like 3 or 4 levels, and I was actually gonna throw away my new copy of Jaws when I was kind of culling my collection. And she told me that she wanted me to keep it so we could play it again. So like
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a bigger endorsement I could give a game other than like my wife enjoyed it. Like, and this is
I
not the kind of game
I
she
imagine
enjoys.
that Jaws of the Lion got so many people into it. It like I mean, I wouldn't call Isaac the most personable person in the world, but that man
Yeah.
knows how to like follow the hype. He knows how to ride that train.
Yeah. And I enjoy
Frost,
Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. They're a little bit more unwieldy because they're more ambitious, which is
yeah,
totally cool. But this is just such a good, like concise, like perfect package. Like
yeah.
I think it's a 10 out of 10 of the series
So
for me.
I agree. I have Frosthaven at number four. I
Yep.
combine them all. Because it's like I don't want to riddle my top 100 with Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, and
Gloomhaven.
Frosthaven.
Yeah, I kind of think about it that way too. Like I think of it as the Haven games, right?
Yes,
So
and
this
you
is just my
know there's going
favorite.
to be a third Haven game.
Oh yeah,
Like
for sure.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't.
I'm thinking Dust Haven or like Sand Haven. It's gonna be like some kind of deserty
Forest Haven could
town.
be cool.
Forest Haven.
Well,
Yeah.
they're caught. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know,
Really
but
interesting.
Frosthaven has I mean, I've started the campaign and then I moved. So it's
Yeah.
like,
So, dude, literally same. We were like 30 scenarios in, and then
oh,
I had
you're
to move.
further than I was in
Yeah.
Frosthaven. I was like maybe 10.
Yeah. Frosthaven is
Uh,
also really good.
but so fun fact, you mentioned the video game. Um, I have a love-hate relationship with that Steam game.
Yeah.
If you're trying to play it and you can't, if you want to play Gloomhaven, yes, it is the best version to do that because trying to get a group together in person is impossible.
Hmm.
I only play that game on the easiest difficulty
Yeah.
because that is the only way I believe you beat scenarios. Because otherwise, I've tried it so many different times
Yeah.
at a regular difficulty, and that fucking modifier deck always goes negative, 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 miss,
Yeah.
negative, negative, and I'm like, is this rigged?
I'm at a medium difficulty, I think, right now, and I was actually doing pretty good. Like I had to get better at it to like start
Yeah.
beating some of the scenarios, and I hit this like impasse. I'm almost at the end game, like at the final level. I think I have like 3 levels I have to beat to get to the end game.
Okay.
And dude, those 3 levels before the last level, holy cow! I don't know how I'm going to beat them. So I kind of stalled out, but like I got
Yeah.
pretty far on like it was like medium normal difficulty, I think. And
Yeah.
you're right, dude. The modifier decks they hit you at the worst times
It's
in
like,
that
and
one.
I know Gloom or like OG Gloomhaven has a very difficult barrier to entry. Like
Yeah.
most people lose that first scenario over and over and over. And the one thing about Gloomhaven and Frosthaven and all them is they're not fail forward systems,
Hmm.
which I wish they were.
You have to keep
I
repeating.
hate redoing, and I never will. Like
Yeah.
if I'm playing Frosthaven and it's like, oh, we lost this scenario after 2 hours, it's like, no, we didn't.
Yep.
Look at that, we
The
won.
good thing about Digital Gloomhaven, because I agree, but also the thing that doesn't bother me about it is that like the difference between repeating a scenario in the board game and repeating a scenario in the video game is vastly
That
different.
is
In
true.
the board game, it's like, okay, let's spend 15 minutes to reset
Yeah,
and like get everything set up again. All right, and now let's try again. And now we spend 2 more hours and we fail again. Oh my gosh. But in the video game, it's like, hey, I just spent 25, 30 minutes on this level.
true. That
I
is
can spend
true.
30 minutes to try again. Like
Yeah,
it'll take me 2 seconds to rejigger my decks. Like not that big of a deal. So
that's
that's why
true.
that doesn't bother me too much. But
Yeah.
yes, I totally get it. But yeah,
And then I'm
Gloomhaven
just waiting
is.
for that. I know Jaws of the Lion is on the Steam version.
Mhm.
I'm waiting for them to do Frosthaven.
Oh, dude, I hope they do Frosthaven because man, it's gonna be so
I,
much
I,
fun.
I mean, they'd be throwing away money if they didn't,
Yeah,
right?
I hope they do. I hope they do because yeah, yeah.
But yes,
Anyway, we spent like I
fantastic
feel like we spent
list.
20 minutes on this game. It's
It's
really
it's
good.
so good.
The story is like in any of these games are kind of like whatever, but it's really not the biggest deal. It's not that important.
Uh,
Like
there are definitely the games that I have above Frosthaven, which I doubt you even played,
probably.
are top-notch storytelling.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but yes, the Gloomhaven story is never something that you're going into and thinking it's fantastic. The
Yeah.
writing isn't horrible, but it's not, I
It's
wouldn't really call
serviceable.
this a narrative-driven game either.
Yeah. No. It's
Frosthaven's
a
the
dungeon crawler.
yeah, the Foreteller app saves this
Hmm.
game. The
Oh,
Gloomhaven helper app is
yeah.
is
Yeah, that
amazing as
is that
well.
is the other thing is like the other thing that transformed Jaws is when we realized we had apps that could take away half the components.
Yeah.
Wow,
Which I know people
incredible.
are like, "Oh, but I paid for all that." And it's like,
I don't care.
use it.
Yeah,
Which
I
I
don't
mean,
care.
going back to the map packs, that's why it took him so long because he wanted the freedom of customization with those map tiles. I'm like, "Great. They still exist.
Yeah.
Just make the map tiles or the
Yeah.
map books." And then they
All
did.
right. I think we've spent long enough on this. It's good. Yeah. Oh no, my dog is waking up, so we'll see if we can get through. We'll see if we can get through this. Here we
Oh
go.
no.
Okay. Oh, I know that we share a love for this game. So we're
Okay.
okay. So my number six. So I talked about how I like social games. And I like, I like thematic games as well. And this is, oh man, this game is great. Nemesis is my number six.
Nice. Yes.
Nemesis
Ooh, that's a
just
good picture.
I love Alien and I like Aliens. Alien is one of my favorite movies. I know it wasn't on my top 20. Sorry. I still like it.
Well, I mean,
And
maybe they'll make a Paddington Bear 2 board
oh,
game
there you go. Yeah,
or
they make
Puss
us
in Boots too.
exactly. So there was a little knockoff Walmart Paddington game that my sister bought for me as a gag gift on Christmas. It's like the stupidest little game, and we all played it. I'm like, this is the most. It doesn't matter. So Nemesis is great because basically, if you like the movie Alien, you can play Alien in a board game, and it's not just like, oh wow, you're like playing through predetermined scenarios of it. It's not like that. You're all a different crew member that feel like the characters in Alien, but aren't exactly like that. You're fighting against aliens that are naturally move around. There's no like pre-scripted scenarios. And the reason that's important is because one of the best parts of Alien is that, hey, there were some traitors and some good guys in that game. And in this game, they capture that by making it a semi-cooperative game
Hmm.
where some characters have a goal that conflicts with the well-being of other crew members or the well-being of the ship, and that there are some people who have goals where, they're just trying to survive and rescue other people, right? And you don't know who is doing what. You don't know the motives of the other players, and it gives this game, it's cooperative, it's
Hmm.
semi-cooperative. It gives this game where like you're working together, but you are so paranoid the entire time. So it kind of elevates like the actual gameplay itself. It's pretty simple. It's
Yeah,
pretty
that
standard,
the
but that's not
rules
the
are a
point.
mess though.
Yeah, the rule book is a total mess. But what's great is like that semi-cooperative nature totally elevates the gameplay, like in every way.
Hmm.
Because everything you do and everything somebody else does, you're totally paranoid about what's going on. You could all be cooperative, but you're all like nervous around each other because you don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, someone
And
walks into your room and you're just like, "Hey, what's up?"
yeah, why are you doing that? And I think the genius thing is that you cannot harm people directly. Like you can't harm
Yes.
another player directly, and that's like 10 out of 10 game decision. You have to like find indirect ways if you're
Yeah.
trying to kill somebody to kill them because you can't just go and shoot them and be like, haha, I have to kill you.
Right.
You're dead.
You just run in, rip
Yeah.
ass in the corridor, it causes the queen to come in, and you're just like, "All right,
Yeah.
see ya." And then
You'll
you
just be
shut
like,
the
hey,
door.
I'm just gonna close this door for some reason. And they're like, why? Why are you closing that door? And you're like, oh no, to protect the crew, to protect the crew. Like it was just an accident. Like,
Well, I see you have some ammo on you, so
yeah.
you should be good,
You should be
right?
good. You're good. You have the ammo. I don't want that alien to get to me. I'm totally weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stories you'll tell with Nemesis are so cool. And it's like again, there's like the game itself, and there's that social level with the players. Like it's kind of like you've got a social deduction element in there, and I love that. All right, I'm gonna try and put my dog down and see if he's quiet.
Yes. So this game is definitely in my top 100. It's number 70, and it fell from 34, and it fell quite a bit just
Mhm.
because this game is difficult to get to the table for me.
Yeah.
Um, and but last time I did play it was at 4, and it was a fantastic experience. But I've also played this at 6, and I
Ugh.
hated. Yeah, I know.
I thought it could only go up to 5.
No, I can play. Well, maybe 5. I played at
Yeah.
max player count,
Max player count.
and it
Yeah,
was
that's a lot.
awful. It was
Yeah, that's
horrible.
fair.
Because it was so long. And I
Yeah.
feel like some of the best parts of this game is actually finding the rooms you need in the ship. And when you have max player count, uh, you find all the rooms so quickly.
Yeah. I think this is one of those this is a great example of I think even more so than the root, there could be some really, really, really low lows playing this game. But
Yes.
you need the systems to have those moments so you can have I'm telling you, like I'm not exaggerating, some of the highest highs you'll ever
Yeah.
have in a board game. Like when you pull off a maneuver to like, kill somebody in the ship and get out like at the same time without like the or when you're like the last crew member left on board and you are just like all the aliens coming after you and you like make it out barely in time, like some of
Only to
those
find
moments
out
are
you're
just
actually infected.
you only fight you're affected. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like that there's player elimination in this game. I don't mind that. I mean, I've had some games where people get eliminated early and that kind of sucks. But also, like
Yeah.
everybody we played it with kind of knows that's part of the deal, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what makes the game exciting,
You
right? Like when
can
you're playing.
technically have them play as the alien then.
Boo. I don't like
Yeah, I
that.
know, it's
Yeah.
so
I
dumb.
personally, when I die early, I don't mind watching to see if the other player try to get out. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy that. So it really doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
And usually I always make sure to tell people, hey, this is a possibility.
Yeah.
And people are usually pretty aware. The
In
reason
my
this game,
experience, it's later on in the game. No one's dying
yeah.
10 minutes in. And if you are, just reset.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, my other thing about the so semi-cooperative games typically suck. They
Yeah.
might like, but this one found a way to make it work so well. And I love the fact that you have those two objectives and you don't pick from the beginning.
Yeah, you get to
It's you
choose
get to kind of
later.
see the board state until the first intruder shows up. And then
Hmm.
it's like, oh, I have to make sure that person dies. Well, the
Yeah.
alien's in his room.
I'll pick
So,
this one.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So,
it's great. And I love like the moments in this game where you think, "Oh, this will be easy to kill this guy because he's near the aliens." And then they escape and then you're like, "Wait, how am I going to do it now?" And then you have to like
yeah.
scramble. I love
Yes.
love that stuff.
The last game I played was it was two people had already died. One person got gooed or slimed on, and he was just
Yeah.
hunted the entire time. So he was easy. I had to make sure
Mhm.
everyone died, I think. And so he died. Another person just had the aliens and ended up killing him. So it was me and another dude, and he was injured. And he's running to the exit, and I'm running with him. And then as we get to the escape pod, an alien shows up and he tries to get in, and then I played a card that canceled his action, and and he was like, "So you're the traitor?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." Anyway, I'm gonna leave.
That moment when people realize who was like working against them the whole
Yep.
time is just so
Yep.
good.
It
I love
made
that
me
moment
feel
when you're like,
nice.
"Hey, like I fixed these engines," and everybody at the table like squints at you, and they're like, "Did you though?" And
Right.
everybody's like, "Well, I guess we all have to go double check his work." And it's like
Yeah.
so, dude, it's just so good.
But that's the thing, it's kind of like with any social deduction game. It's like if you lie out the gate, it's like, okay, never trusting you again, just like betraying someone in a war game. It's
Yeah,
like you gotta time that just right.
yeah, you have to do
Nemesis,
it.
yeah, is one of the most thematic games, and yet I still don't own Lockdown or the other one,
I don't
Retribution.
I don't love Lockdown. I played the digital version and maybe it just taught me the game wrong, but I felt like Lockdown kind of overcomplicated some steps.
Yeah,
And I like how pure the original game is. Like it's
yeah,
very like there's a lot going on, but it's very simple to be like you either hibernate or you escape.
yeah.
And the way you escape or hibernate is you go to that space and you succeed a noise roll. And there was some like really weird just kind of like overcomplicated things in lockdown. Like the power
Yeah.
system was a little too fiddly for me. It's like one of those kind of like annoying things to deal with instead of like a fun
It
complication.
seems like all three of
So
those games were just different variants they wanted to play, but
yeah.
they have like this narrative
Hmm.
story that they want to do for all
Yeah.
three of them.
The thing with
Um,
lockdown is the red box art looks incredible.
it does. And that's the thing is like I wanted to get everything for it, but I think it
Yeah.
was gonna be like $700 for me to
Yeah.
get everything, and I was like, I barely play this game enough as it is.
Yeah. I just have the
Uh,
original. I did
yeah.
back Retaliation because it looks different enough to
It did
be
look,
totally different.
yeah,
So
it had me hooked, and I was like, I do
I
like this
just,
game a lot,
yeah, I
but
got the version without the minis.
I haven't
So
even played. Oh, okay. I haven't even
yeah.
played like the Void Seeders, like as
Yeah.
an alien race. I played Carnomorphs.
This is actually, now that you bring that up, I like to mention this. This is funny about Nemesis. This is one of my favorite games, but unlike any other of my favorite games, it's one of those that I have felt no need or desire to like grab all the expansion stuff.
I think
Like the
it's,
alternate aliens, I'm like,
yeah, I think it's
whatever.
because it's such a rules, like it's such a wonky, kind of like
Yeah.
incomplete game almost. It feels like because of the way the rules are done,
Yeah.
that it's almost a bear to relearn something else.
Yeah. Well, for
Um,
me, it's just like I don't like Nemesis from the mechanical, like, ooh, a difference in aliens. I like it. The aliens can be anything. Like, it doesn't
yeah,
matter to me. What's fun is like the kinds of stories that you tell with that semi-cooperative narrative that happens in the
yeah.
game.
Do you
So,
have the app?
which app?
So there's a Nemesis app that does the bag building
Oh, I
and all
should do
that for
that.
you. I've heard
I
this.
hate
It's like
doing
a,
it. Does it tell you what each symbol does when you pull it
I
out?
think so.
That's my
It's
least favorite thing about Nemesis is there's no easy location for that
yeah.
stupid bag development phase, and you have to
I
like flip through the
think
rulebook to find it.
it's a companion app
Okay.
for it. So
two
that definitely.
things two things that knock Nemesis down past the bottom five is the rule book, which you mentioned,
Yep.
and second, which is it's not a good rule book. I'm just gonna say it.
No, no, it
And
is not.
it's fine when you're like when I was reading through it initially, it all made sense and it was clear. But then when you need to reference a rule, it is not well
Yeah.
organized for that.
Yeah, they
But
try to teach it
secondly,
thematically and
yeah,
it's like,
secondly,
look,
setup and tear down kind of sucks.
yeah.
Just because there's like 18 different decks of cards.
Hmm.
I don't love that. So
Yeah.
like the setting up the board is fine. Like you just set that stuff out, but like holy cat, and they have fine inserts with the game actually, which is nice.
Uh,
They're okay. They don't really fit sleeve cards, I'll tell you that.
yeah, no,
But the different
Awakened
decks of
Realms is
cards, oof. So
horrible with their inserts. The new Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin was actually surprisingly good.
okay.
But I've had to buy secondhand 3D printed inserts. I just bought one for ISS Vanguard, and that's gonna be sexy. But yeah, Awakened Realms, one of my favorite publishers.
Hmm.
Like I love almost all their games.
The
But
quality of their components is incredible,
oh yeah,
unmatched.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Like they definitely know how to make a game that makes me like ooh. But yeah,
also the weird like not weird, but like the art style they do. It's not just like straight, like there's just something about their art style of this game that's really cool. It's kind of like a painting, like almost water painting
yes,
style that I think
yeah,
is looks incredible.
yeah.
Like I love Kyle Farron's art. Like I love how this is like a totally different kind of art style. It doesn't look like every other sci-fi game out there. But it's very distinct and it has that kind of personality to it.
Yep,
That's another thing that like amps it up for me. Like I love like just looking at this picture. It's such a cool picture, right? This is
I
every
agree.
piece of art in the game looks like this,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, Nemesis is great. I love it. My number five, the original board game that was ever created, probably. This may be too vanilla of a pick,
Go.
but Go. No, it's chess.
It's
Yes, I
chess.
know it's kind of a vanilla pick, but I really like chess. So what can I say? Like I play it all the
You
time.
played Onitama?
I do like Onitama.
Okay.
Onitama's fun.
It's
Yeah,
better than chess.
better than chess. What are you
100%.
smoking?
100,
No.
100%.
Uh,
Million%.
chess is just like it's like the definitive stinking I don't know if strategy game is the word. Tactical game, I guess. It's the definitive tactical game,
Yeah.
I suppose. I it's one of those games that like if obviously it's iconic because it's hundreds of years old,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things that I'm continually impressed the more I play it. Sorry, I have to be true. I gotta be true to myself, bro. I love chess. I'm obsessed with it. I've been trying to get better at it. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, it's just chess. But like the deeper you dig into chess, which you think is a
Oh,
simple
yeah.
game, like the
Oh
rabbit
God,
holes that
no.
you
No,
go
there's
down
a
trying to
reason
get
why
better at
there's
chess.
grandmasters and
Yeah,
why there's controversy whenever one of the grandmasters loses.
cheats, yeah, or loses.
Uh,
Yeah, it's
do the anal plugs like
yeah.
and
Oh, you heard about
like
that? The
yeah,
anal
oh
plug
yeah, with
story?
Magnus
Incredible.
Carlsen.
With Magnus Carlsen.
Um,
Yeah. It's just it's a simple game. It's easy to teach, but it's so deep. Like,
oh yeah,
and you won't realize how deep it is until you're like, well, I'm gonna try and just get a little better at it. Because you think, oh, well, I just have to memorize openings or whatever, and then I'll get good at no. And
no,
what's interesting is like I would think that every possible combination of chess has been played out because it's played a million times a day. But every game I play, it's just one of those like I always find a different board state, even with the same opening that I'm practicing. I don't know how that happened. I genuinely don't know the math on chess. It's kind of ridiculous how many
yeah.
combinations you could
Well, I
play
mean, that's kind of why, like, I mean, obviously, I can't shit on chess because it is
because
clearly a
it's
master.
chess.
But it's like I don't like chess because it is officially one of those games that it's like you have no chance to beat someone who actually has played more than you.
That's why you just grind, bro. Get better. You learn. Look, here
Dude,
I got it right
okay, I
here.
know you're only 24
I
and you
know.
have that time.
Look at that. I got Levi
Yeah,
Rosman's Gotham chess book.
yeah,
I got
yeah.
that. Trying to learn, trying to get better. Right now, my goal is for the past couple months, I've been trying to reach rank 1000 on chess.com, and it's harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
when you have like a goal like that, it's very fun. And it's just like one of those, like, I know it's like vanilla, like, oh, it's chess, but like really, the more I play it, the more I'm just impressed by like how it can be so deep and so simple at the same time. And my wife and I will play chess as well. And we love doing the chess puzzles together. We get really competitive with chess. It's just, I don't know. Like, I guess it's kind of a lame pick, but I think it's obviously a great
I
game.
mean,
Like, I don't know
it's
what to
your top
say.
10.
Yeah.
Um, is it considered a board game though?
It's a board game. You have a board in pieces. What are you talking about? It is the board game.
Do you consider D&D a board game?
Um,
There's a board and pieces.
yeah. I mean, I guess I would consider it a board game, but
Yeah,
this is a
like
board game.
um chess is that's such a I mean, I guess I'm not surprised because you had Crokinole on
I know.
uh on your list. Um but yeah, like and I don't consider myself bad at chess. I
Hmm.
just it's like I like games where it's like from the get-go I have a chance of winning. Um
Yeah.
and
I
chess is
guess.
definitely not that. It's like if you're actually taking time to go to chess.com, I have
Mhm.
no chance of beating you.
I don't know. I'm
Um
really not that good at chess either, to be honest. I have very peaks and valleys with chess. Sometimes I get in a really good streak, and sometimes I
mhm.
like can't even beat like a rated 400 player, and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with me? I guess that's kind of what fired me up about chess because like I was kind of like you a couple years ago. I was like, ah, whatever, like it's chess.
Yeah.
And then I was on one of my improv tours with a buddy, and he was playing chess.com on his phone, and I was like, oh yeah, I've played chess, and in my naivete. I was like, yeah, I'm like good at chess because I like played
Yeah.
with my dad when I was younger. Like I'm good. And he's like, cool. And we played, and he absolutely decimated me at chess. And I was like, bro, like what is even I like didn't even know what was going on. I was like, what is even happening right now?
Yeah.
And when he started to explain to me like some basic chess strategy I had never heard before, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. And then he started sending me like so then I was like, I just want to beat my friend. And that's
Mhm.
what started like the passion that ignited with me. And as I was trying to get better against him, then I just started falling down the rabbit hole of like trying to get better at chess in general. And then I realized, holy cow, this game is like
Oh yeah.
way more deep than I thought it
There are
was.
literal names to
Yeah.
moves.
Yeah.
And if you're playing against someone and you like move a pawn and then they're like, ah, the Alexander Twister move, you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
We're not playing anymore because you clearly know way more about this than I do. Which I mean is something extravagant in and of itself when because I don't think
Hmm.
there's a single game that would be in my top 100 that would be you can get better at this game by
Yeah.
playing it more. Like there's like an incline of
Hmm.
just because there's no variable.
Yeah.
Like it's 100% perfect knowledge.
You can never say chess is random because it's not
Yeah,
random. Yeah.
exactly.
I
So
I think that's what ignites me about it because like it's kind of like with Six Siege where like when you play it and you're like I see the potential and I can get better at this and I want to get better at this, you know?
yeah,
And there are like objective ways that I can play this better. And I enjoy that a lot. And chess is
right.
just like the purest version of that. And that's why I enjoy it. And so like, even though it's vanilla, like if I spend so much time playing chess. I'm like, I mean, it's got to be in the top 10, obviously. Like if I feel this way about it, where I'm like obsessed with it all the time, like clearly it's a good game, So
Yeah,
I like trying to get better and like learning to get better at something. So
yeah.
that kind of, but
And
yeah, like
that's
that also means you can't have games where you just get absolutely creamed and you hate yourself
oh
and
yeah.
you think not only that you hate yourself, you think you're the stupidest person in existence.
Yeah.
It can make you feel that way.
Yeah. Well, not chess, but Onitama is my number eight. It has number 88. And
Yeah,
Onitama to me has the exact same feeling as chess because it's perfect knowledge.
yeah,
Just a different level um of thinking.
yeah.
Because one, you
I own it, so it's in my closet. I just haven't played it in a while, but I enjoy it.
gotcha. I
Yeah.
just with Onitama, I just love the fact that it's like here are the five patterns in the game, and you know
Hmm.
exactly what your opponent can do with any of those pieces.
Yeah.
And that is another layer of strategy, and because then you'll sometimes hold on to a move that you have because you don't want to give it to your opponent.
There's a lot of
Um,
fun give and take with that one.
yeah, so if you're like me and you don't like chess because it's like you have zero chance of ever beating someone who's just played more than you, give Onitama a shot.
Yeah. No,
And
Onitama is good.
pure Onitama, the expansions for it, unless it's if it's not the pattern
Hmm.
expansion, don't mess with those. They're
Interesting.
not good.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. So chess, I think it stayed the test of time for hundreds of years for a reason, and so I like it.
I'm curious when it was released. Chess release date.
It was on Kickstarter like a couple years ago, I think.
1475 to 1500 AD.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
Birth of the modern game, especially new moves for queen and bishop. 1495 was the first printed chess book.
Nice.
So there you go. End of the 15th century.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, and we're still playing it and still studying it and still learning new things about it to this day, which is mind-boggling. Like I can't even fathom
Yeah.
how.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
now it's like, I mean, I think there's been like tests where it's like if you were immortal and
Yeah.
you like played chess every day, could you ever beat like Magnus Carlsen or someone like that? And it's like, no.
Yeah.
There was nothing you could ever do as an average player to beat a grandmaster because he's just always going to know more than you.
It's true. I mean, he's a grandmaster, so like I'm not looking
Yeah.
to beat Magnus Carlsen. I'm just looking to reach 1,000. I just want to reach 1,000
What's your
so
rank
bad.
right now?
Oh, it's low right now because I went through a really bad losing streak for a while. Let me check. It's gonna be so embarrassing to bear this on the air. This is like worse than being naked on camera, I tell you what.
You're like, oh,
Uh, oh dear goodness. What
I
is
almost want to get really into chess to see if I can get to rank 1000 before you.
so my puzzle rating is 1730, which isn't terrible. Um, on date, they have it rated different. What do I play the most? I think I play Rapid the most, which is like a 10-minute timer. My rank is 732. I was
Okay.
getting up to 900 and then just like kept dropping. Like I would always like average out around there. So, and it's because I need to study a little bit more because I'll like reach a certain point and then I'll hit like my knowledge wall where somebody will counter an opening that I've been practicing. And I'm like, oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know about that one. So, yeah. And then I tilt in chess where I'll like play. I gotta get one win. I gotta get one win. And then I
Oh,
lose eight
yeah.
times and my rank just plummets. So yeah,
Well, there you go.
there you go. Yeah, top five.
Okay.
We are
Number
in the top
four,
five of everyone's.
solitaire, poker.
Go. Yeah.
I've never played Go. I want to play it.
Number one, 52 card pickup.
Number
Okay,
two,
so
reading. What?
the game of life, number one. So I was really tempted to put this next game in the number six slot just for funsies. And that's because number
Oh,
four is Six Siege, the board game.
okay. Here
This
we
one,
go.
so I know I was talking about like I don't want to put things because I don't want them to be recency bias, but I don't think Six Siege is recency bias because I've been playing it for 3 years now at this point. So I feel like it's pretty safe to say this game is obviously, I think, a top five for me. It is
Yeah.
my favorite like miniatures skirmish game, and I haven't played all of them. So sorry. I know people think I'm disqualified because I haven't played Warhammer 40K. Um, You can
Dude.
suck it, I
mm,
guess. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I've seen
Look,
people play it. I've looked at the rules. I've played some other. I've played Star Wars Legion. I've played Star Wars Shatterpoint. I've played Marvel Crisis Protocol. What else have I played? I've played Heroscape. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. And this is the
look,
best one out of all the ones I've played or looked at.
yeah. This game alone was the reason why I did a top five skirmish games
Yeah.
for my channel because I wanted to talk about it and include it with some others. Because yeah, this game's great. Obviously not on my list because I didn't have it until this
Yeah.
year.
Until yeah, a couple months ago. Yeah, I mean, look, this is Rainbow Six Siege is my favorite multiplayer video game of all time. And
Really? Oh,
oh,
okay.
for sure.
I
Yeah, I
didn't.
love the
I
game.
guess that
I
makes
am
sense.
absolutely terrible at it, but I love it. And it's the same reason for chess. The reason Rainbow Six Siege, the video game, fired me up is because I knew I can get better at this. And it's one of those that makes you want to get better at it. And so I would play it all the time. And there's so much you can learn playing that video
Do you
game.
think, okay, so you're talking about chess and about increasing skill level with this
Yeah.
game, which I completely agree. Do
Mhm.
you think this game would have been better if it was static damage and no dice?
The board game?
Yeah.
No, I actually really like the dice.
Okay.
And I can talk about it in a bit, but like the video game is my favorite, and so obviously I was going to try the board game, and I think the board game is I think it adapts the video game absolutely masterfully. I'm like so impressed by how they
If
do
you
it.
were to hear about it, you would be like, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this? That like,
Yeah,
but
that was my
yeah.
thought when they announced it. I mean, like I was
hmm
obviously interested because I love Rainbow Six
hmm
Siege, and so I was like, and I remember they announced, it and I was like, how the heck are they going to make
How are
this
they going to do
board
the,
game?
well, because I played the demo at Gen
Yeah.
Con years ago. This was when Mythic Games showed their face in public before they would be executed in the
Yeah.
streets,
Oof.
taken out back and shot.
hmm
Um, and I was like, I don't like how the defenders are already on the map.
Yeah.
Like, or not on the map, sorry, how the attackers are already on the map because that's
How are they
part
going
of
to
the
do
game.
the
Where are they? Where are they going to be?
How are you going to do the setup phase? How are you
Yeah.
going to do like how is it going to be fair where the attackers know where the defenders are at all times?
Yep.
How are they going to do destruction with multiple floors?
Yes.
Like all of that. How are they
It
going to do some of
works.
the gadgets? And it works. Like the
Yeah,
solutions they find are incredible. The way they abstract the upstairs, I think, is such
I
a
agree.
great way. The way you do the setup phase as part of like the board setup is dope. The decoy
hmm
tokens is such a cool little solution for the hidden defenders.
Yeah, hidden
Um,
defenders, even the attackers being known where they're at, you kind of think about it when you play the video game again, you're like, oh, you're pretty much seen almost immediately anyway.
Yeah,
So
and
it
you
just
like in the
takes
video
that.
game, you know usually where the bomb locations are. So you know they're probably around that area with maybe
Yeah.
a roamer or two. So yeah, it just like works. And the thing is, what impresses me the most about this game is even though it is complex, it is like the most simplified version I think this game could possibly be. Like I'm
Yeah.
impressed by how much they were able to streamline it. Now that means there's still a lot. I think the front loading of things you have to learn is still quite a bit because there's a lot of terminology and like they have a player aid, but I've noticed every time I hand that player to somebody, it's like double-sided and it's wall to wall with like
Yeah.
text, which sucks. But after that, like literally first two games, people like pick up on that stuff really easily, and it's surprisingly very streamlined and simple. Like every time I explain the actual like actions in the game, I'm surprised. Like, yeah, this really isn't that complicated. Like, yeah, you can move five because like a good example, you can move five spaces. That's it. You take a
Yeah.
move action, everybody moves five spaces. All right. You Overwatch, you put a little marker in front of you, and now you can shoot people that walk in front of you.
Yep.
You can deploy a gadget and then you can shoot someone that you can see. Like it's actually very simple. What makes it complicated is the asymmetric abilities of the operators and the different gadgets. There's just a lot of that kind of terminology and the way
Right.
they interact with
Right.
each other. But like the actual game, its flow itself is great. And the best part about this game is they have a timer that's built into the game. And
Yes.
anybody who thinks that you should play this game without a timer is wrong.
I agree.
I've played the game once without a timer, and it was like a 3 hour game. Miserable. The timer, because when you're sitting there, the analysis paralysis the game will give you is insane. There's
Yeah.
so much stuff. With the timer, you can't think about that way. You can't think. You
Yeah.
can't have an else. You just have to make a decision, and
You
you have to learn how to
can,
think
but
really
you're
fast
running that risk
of
of
running out of
running out of time,
time,
like chess, where it's
like the
like,
video game as well.
yes.
Yeah, it makes it feel, even though you're playing a board game, it gives you that frantic feel the video game feels gives you. You're like, well, we got 30 seconds to get into,
Yeah.
we just gotta push,
And
and
the
you have that moment with the game, with the
Yeah, the
board game.
best part of this board game is you do not have to deal with six siege players, which are
Yes.
awful. They are so bad.
I stand by my review that the board game is the better version of it maximizes the potential the video game had. Because even though I love the video game, Rainbow Six Siege players kind of suck.
Oh yeah.
When you're solo queuing, that kind of sucks because you can't
Yep.
really communicate properly and people just ignore you. When you get like a 4 or 5 stack of friends, it's magical. It's great.
Yes.
Like that, I
Or you actually
love
get
that.
like because I have the a better experience with that with Overwatch, but when you
Yeah,
actually get people who want to play the game and who communicate,
it's great. Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah, no, I
But you don't
agree.
have that a lot with Rainbow Six Siege when you're solo queuing. And this is
No.
like dope. I can decide, I can synergize the team by myself. I get
Hmm.
to control each individual operator, so you don't have to worry about teammates. You don't have to worry about team killing. You don't have to worry about any of that. And like it's just so much more tactical than the video game can sometimes be, right? Because it's a video game. So obviously it's just
Yeah.
sometimes it's not gonna people won't play it tactically, which is fine because it's a video game. It's
Yeah.
like when people it's a common joke in the Rainbow Six Siege community where you go back and you watch that first trailer they did and it's like not they like play it super tactically. It's nothing like how the video game feels. The board game feels like that first teaser, like with
Right.
2 players, which is incredible as far
Yeah.
as I'm
I think
concerned.
it's also just because like you're generally not getting downed. Like you're not putting in a person that's just gonna get one shot because but the video game is so hyper realistic that it's like you're tapped by one bullet and then you're dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well that was not fun for me. Um, so I feel like the video game can be way too frantic
Hmm.
because I mean, granted, whenever we were doing our ranking for the operators on this, I went out and I was like, let me just see what pros look like. And I was watching like a tournament of that, and it was actually extremely entertaining,
Yeah.
um,
It's cool
just
what they do.
watching it. And weirdly, have some obsessive fans like for these teams, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why is
It's
it why
interesting.
is it like this?
The Rainbow Six esports scene is fascinating. I wish this game hadn't it will be forever a source of sadness that the stuff with MG happened because man, I think this board game could have had a dope competitive scene. I really think
Oh
it has that
yeah.
potential, and it's sad that we're basically probably not going to have that. I mean, people will host little small niche tournaments, like one of the
Yeah.
developers
The
who I
best
talked to, he's hosting a small tournament in France, but like it's not going to be like what they
yeah.
pitched. Apparently, Ubisoft was talking with them, and they're like, we would love if we had like with the esports scenes, we had like another room off to the side of esports where people could play a board game tournament as well, like at the same
Oh
time.
wow.
And now we can't do that pretty much, which just
Damn.
kind of it just kind of sucks,
Yeah,
because
best
I
case
think
scenario is Mythic Games sells the rights, but then that same publisher would have to get the rights from Ubisoft
yeah,
as well. So I
yeah,
don't know if this will ever get picked up because what does suck is by the time this came out, there's been like 15 new operators that have been released, and it's like,
yeah.
I want this to be current as
I know,
well.
I
Even
know.
though there's a
Well,
million different combinations, I understand that.
oh
I want it
yeah.
to be current.
I mean, just to talk about how good this game is as far as replayability, when it was on Tabletop Simulator, which is what we played for like 2 years, before they updated it, with like as they started updating it as they got closer to the game with the new operators, we only had for a good year 6 operators on each side on
Yeah.
one map, and we were entertained with that for over a year. And then they introduced 10 operators on each side, the base box, right, with
Hmm.
2 maps. And again, we were entertained with that easily for months. And then finally they introduced everything else. But I'm telling you, like we played a very, very pared down version of this for a long time, and we didn't get bored with it. So, I mean, and now we have 30 operators on each side and like
Yep.
8 maps. So I'm never going to get tired of the stuff we have right now in the
Right.
box, which is awesome. So, but it's just a shame because I wish it could have that mainstream appeal, that mainstream success, because I think the potential of this game is insane. And it's just kind of sad as well that people rate the game low online because of the mythic game
Well,
stuff. It's gone up.
it's at
It's
a
now like
because I just looked up. It's at a 5.2,
5.2. Yeah, but people are gonna
which
look at that and be like, oh, it's bad. And it's
they
like,
are. But I mean, I'd be surprised if most people didn't hear about this. But what it
mhm.
originally was like a 2.
Oh yeah, it was so
So
low. It was
that's
bad.
I mean to get to increase that much for the game actually
It's
being good
pretty good. Yeah.
is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna have people who will always forever hate this game
Yep.
because I mean, fair or not fair, they had to pay extra or
Hmm.
they just didn't get their copy.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I had to pay the extra. So,
yeah, I did
like,
too.
again, I paid
It
over
was
five
either
hundred
I'm
dollars for this
out.
game, and I still love it that much. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I feel like that's a good endorsement.
I mean, to me, it was either I'm out $400 or I'm
Mhm.
out another 200, whatever it
Yeah.
was. I don't even remember.
Sunk cost fallacy. Let's go.
Yeah.
Works every time.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they get you. But I don't know. Only time will tell. I mean, I imagine as this game goes on and on, I bet you there could be a scene of fan-made content.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Um,
And
for
the other reason, obviously, this game is obviously a big deal to me, is very personal. I wouldn't be doing YouTube without this game.
Sure.
I always wanted to do stuff on board games, but I couldn't quite find a game that sparked that passion that I wanted to deep dive into. And this was the one. Like, I was like, I want to make videos on this game. And, the majority of my videos are on Six Siege, and there's a reason because it's great. And
Yeah.
it's not just I started making YouTube videos. I've met so many people. I met you because we were doing the Six Siege ranking.
Yep.
One of my friends, good friends who I do videos with, Barrison, who's been in my videos, he came and when we got this, he was one of the first people I was like, you got to come to my house so we can film gameplays of this, right? Because we've been playing online for so long.
Yeah.
Everybody on the Six Siege server that I've interacted with is great. The developer of one of the developers of the game, JB, I connected with him. Like he found my
Yeah.
videos very early on. Like my
Hmm.
third video, he found it and he reached out to me, and we talk all the time still about this game. So
I
like
think
I've met so many cool people.
he's either commented on the YouTube channel or he's commented on, I think I did a forum
Yeah.
post and he commented
He's
on that.
Yeah, he's
So
very diligent about finding people's videos and commenting on them. Every time
yeah.
I find some niche Six Siege review, he's commented on it. So like he's just really cool. Obviously, he's very passionate about the game, as
Right.
he should be. He should be very proud of it. I think it's great. And so like I've just met so many people. I've started doing YouTube because of this one. I'm very proud of a lot of the stuff I've made for this, and I'm not done making videos for this game either. Like there's so much stuff I can do with this game still, which is
Yeah. I've
great.
thought about this is actually for Gen Con this year. This is one of the few games I'm actually bringing because I
Yeah,
want to just play it more
when
when I'm not at the con.
exactly when introduced it to people. Yeah. And I've never been one to like be involved in like Discord communities for things.
Hmm.
Like I normally don't just jump into a server of strangers over something, but this changed that. Like I joined the 60 server and I started playing with random strangers, and they're like still talk to them all the time, like on the
Yeah.
community. This is like my first experience with like deep diving into a community with people and like bonding over something. And the game is good too. Like the game is incredible.
The
Like I
game
think
is
I really think it's a
extremely
masterpiece.
solid. Yeah.
So yeah, like there's so many reasons why this is
And
definitely in the top
and I
five.
mean, for better or for worse, I don't know if it's still going on,
Mhm.
but they have a stock of this game. Because
It'll
that's
be
how
expensive.
not really. Well, I don't know about the game. I didn't look at the game. I was able to get the plastic tokens
Hmm.
and off of, well, I think that was it. And they actually shipped it really
Pretty fast.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this could just be complete delusion. Maybe
Hmm.
there's some hope if Mythic Games can get out from under all of the Kickstarter IPs.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
If Six Siege is the last game they ever produce, hey, what a swan song. And it sucks. It really, really sucks that other people will be out money. Like I can't even express like
Yeah.
how awful that is. But hopefully, I'm really hoping they can finish out the Kickstarters they have left and close their doors peacefully. That's what I'm really hoping.
Yeah.
If they can't, man, that's going to be awful for so many people.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
they sold Hell to
yeah.
Simon.
They have like two left, I think. There's like Monster Apocalypse
Amistyr or something
and
like that.
Astyr. So we'll
And
see. I'm not
yeah.
hopeful. I know a little bit about like what's going on over there, and it sounds absolutely
Oh
terrible
yeah.
for
Well,
MG.
basically
And
no one has any income.
yeah,
Um
so they're
and
just trying to get the games out. And
yeah,
oof,
so it's a disaster.
yeah.
Definitely the worst case scenario.
But hey,
I think
sometimes disasters produce great art, and
yeah,
now we have
blessing in
Six Siege,
disguise. Yeah,
blessing in
blessing in
disguise.
disguise. Just, I mean, yeah, as huge fans, we can only hope that either the community keeps it alive or somehow, some way, it gets
Yeah.
picked up by someone else.
I mean, I'll be doing my best. Obviously, I'm covering arcs a lot right now. And when I get that spark for a good Six Siege video idea, I'm gonna keep making Six Siege videos. Like I'm not gonna just
Hmm.
stop. Like I'm gonna, even if they don't get any views, like I'm passionate about the game.
Yeah,
So yeah, I was talking to JB and he was like, well, eventually you're not gonna be making like the hype is gonna die down. And I was like, yeah, but I'm still gonna be making videos for this. Like maybe
yeah,
not, consistently every week, obviously, but like my passion for this game will probably never die. So just like my passion for the video game, even though there's a bunch of flaws in that one, I still love playing that game. Like I
yeah,
always I don't play games consistently a lot. I always go on to the next new thing, especially with video games. But Rainbow Six Siege is one of the like three games that I consistently, every once in a while, I always come back to that one to play it for a while. So, and this
yeah.
is this is the same thing. So,
They, I have a few ideas that I've kicked around for this for me and
mhm.
you to do.
Yeah,
So, I'm sure we'll come up with something.
yeah, yeah. So I think this game is great. Totally deserved in my top five. All right. My number three is actually a game that for a long time was my number one game, and
Okay,
I actually don't know what your thoughts are on this game, which is interesting. It's a very iconic game, obviously, and
okay.
that is Twilight Imperium Fourth Edition. Such a good game. Oh my gosh, I love this game
Phenomenal,
so much.
phenomenal. 10 out of 10.
Love TI.
TI is it is definitely in my top 100.
Hmm.
Um, I will have to get back to you on where it's found it. It's number 73, but the
Hmm.
year before it was number 28 because I had played it. This game has always, well, third edition and fourth edition has always been in my top 100. It's insanely high when I play it that year, and then it falls if I don't. Like it's
Yeah.
always just going up and down.
There was a good while where I was able to consistently play this once every year before I moved. Like we had a Christmas game that we would do around Christmas time when people were on
Nice.
vacation. We would come over, we'd play once a year. For my bachelor party, I played an 8-player game of TI. So fun,
Ooh,
fun. I almost put that as a picture actually on the slide. Let me see if I can show this to you. So 8-player TI was fun. I would never do it again,
yeah.
which is fine. Like I wasn't, like it was long and everything. It's okay. It was my
hmm
bachelor party. Like I didn't care. I was like, cool.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we're gonna
yeah.
take our time playing this game. Like it didn't matter to me that it was gonna go a while. We all knew what we were in for.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it was just like,
TI's sweet spot is 6
yeah.
and should be the expansion made it go up to 8, but it's like it's best at 6.
So I don't know if you'll be able to see over the camera, but we had to use 4 separate tables to set this thing up.
Okay.
So we set up the map on this giant pool table, and then we had this other. This is at the B&B. They had this other table that we had to set one of the players at the very end. Like you can't really see it, but
Okay.
they are far away from the map. And then
Yeah.
on the side, the seventh and eighth players had these tiny little tables that they had their faction stuff on
Oh
off to the
wow.
side. So 4 tables in total. And it took all day to play, but we also had to leave for like 4 hours to do, wedding stuff or whatever.
You're right. Yeah.
Um,
Who cares
but
about that?
yeah, but you can just like see like the map is bigger and like it's huge. Like,
Yeah.
because you have a
Was
whole
that
nother
with
ring.
the expansion?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
it would
yeah.
have had to be.
It
You
had to be,
played at
yeah,
8.
Prophecy of
Yep.
Kings. So yeah, I mean TI is great. Like this is a great example of like a mixture of all the kinds of things I like. I love social negotiation, table politics. I love that stuff. I love asymmetric stuff. I love things on a map fighting each other, and
Yep.
this is the perfect mix of I like I liked the trading in Catan. This is a perfect mix of all of those things.
Yeah.
Which is why TI is it blew my mind. And surprisingly, my hot take is that Twilight Imperium is not a complicated game.
I agree. No,
It is a big
I'm
game, but it is not
yeah,
complicated.
it is daunting. It has a stigma to it because it is so long, but it is really not that complex.
No, the rule book is like what, 10, 15 pages. It's not that
Yeah.
bad, like at all. Yeah, no, this is just when I talk about like the kind of when I think of like narrative games or like games where I feel like I experienced a story, this is one that pops in my head. There's not like a campaign or like
hmm
but it's one of those like, I guess the best word is immersive. This is one of
Yeah.
those really immersive games where when I finish a game of TI, win or lose, I feel like I just experienced like 5 seasons of a really epic TV show. And it's like one
Yeah.
of those, when you finish a really good show. Well, you haven't finished a show. So let me tell you what happens when you finish a show. When you finish a really good show, the feeling you get of like contentment and like disappointment that's over and like hopelessness, like what do I even do now? Like what could
I
fill
have
this void in my
experienced
hole?
that.
Yeah.
And
I
I
feel that
hate that
way.
feeling.
I know. I feel that way at the end of every TI game. Like, wow, that was incredible, awesome. I made memories.
You want to
Oh,
know
it's
why I don't finish
over.
shows?
Why?
Because I am a destination person.
Yeah, you got to get
So
there.
if the ending has to land, no, no,
That's
no.
fair.
I like if the journey can be great. If the
Hmm.
ending sucks, the whole thing sucks. So for you Game of Thrones fans out there, suck
Yep.
it. I didn't
Hmm.
have to waste my time. The only season of Game of Thrones I've ever watched was season 8. And I sat there
Oh,
and I was like, I'm glad I didn't waste 10 years of my life.
that's fair. But listen, season 1 through 4 is so
I read
good.
the
That's why
books.
it
I
sucks.
read
That's
the
fair.
books.
That's fair.
And then halfway
Um,
through book 5, actually, to be fair, I didn't finish book 5 because I was halfway through it and I had an epiphany. I'm like, George R. R. Martin is a fucking moron and
he's
he's
never
gonna
gonna finish
die
the
before these
series.
books are done. So why should
Yeah.
I care?
Yeah.
And I quit caring.
So,
Anyway,
um,
but yes, I
but
have I have finished.
imagine if all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones were a masterpiece, like the first 4 seasons.
Yeah,
The feeling you would get after finishing that show is what it feels like finishing a game of Twilight Imperium.
that is true.
And it's one of those like you finish it, I play one game a year, and that is like enough, and not in
It
like a
is.
bad way, right?
Yeah.
Like it's in a good way. Like I want to sit with this game's memories for a while before we play again. And I know people play like the people at Space Cats P Stores play this all the time, and that sounds fun and all. Like I would love that, but
Yeah.
also I love that it's such a rare thing because I feel like almost every game I've played, I remember in detail the story of that game.
Same.
It's
Yep.
it's just one of those games. It looks incredible on the table. The fun, it's one of those that it takes like, 6, 8 hours and it feels like 2 hours. The time flies for
Yeah.
me playing this game. Like every time I'm like, wow, it's been 4 hours. We've been playing this. It doesn't feel like that because I feel like I'm engaged through the entire thing. I love the table politics. I love the negotiations. It's just so epic and big and large scale. I don't know. It's just one of those. It's a one of those once in a year experiences where you're like, let's all get together. We're gonna spend a
Yep.
day. We're gonna play this game, and everybody has a good time, and we all have a good story, and we'll talk about it for months and sometimes years. I still talk about some of the games I played as years after the fact. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of the things that absolutely hooked me on this game was the fact that it legitimately had politics
yeah,
in it. Like it is a mechanism of laws and
hmm
rules, and that changes the way the game is played. And the
yeah,
way that fourth edition has streamlined it with, okay, politics don't happen until someone controls Mechatol Rex. It's like,
yeah,
oh, that's really cool. Your planets that you control will dictate how much influence you have over politics, which can be huge. There are races that are designed around that, which is amazing. Um, and hell, even the randomized combat isn't horrible because of the action
mhm.
cards.
Yeah, and because
Um,
the combat doesn't happen all the time, at least in my games. So like it's a
to
little,
me, I think it depends on the factions that are playing. There are
yeah, that's
obviously
true.
some very warmongery factions,
hmm
but there's so much I mean, factions designed around negotiation, around unorthodox methods of, and then the expansion just enhanced that
Yeah,
with with the mechs and then with the unique
the
um
leaders and stuff.
leaders. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I don't really love the exploration system in the expansion. It's a little too fiddly, I've realized, but like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the end of the
It's
world.
minor.
It's
Yeah.
minor. It's minor, but it takes a lot of admin, which is just annoying because it's
Yeah.
like four more decks that you have to
The
worry about.
tech tree is
Oh,
so
dude, the
much
tech tree is
cleaner.
so clean. I love
Like
that.
it's just
Yeah.
because I think in third it's been a bit, but I think it was like specific text you had to have, and now it's just colors.
Yeah, which is just so nice.
It is so much better.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, if you had said this was your number one, I would not have been
I
surprised.
mean, it's been my number one for a long time. And there's just some other games that I just like a little more. And I haven't gotten to play this one, I actually think, since my wedding. So I haven't played it in 2 years, which kind of sucks because
Yeah.
obviously I love it. I mean, it's sitting right there.
Yeah.
So, like,
This
yeah,
is
I think
one.
it's
I
great.
have a friend whenever I was living uh where I used to live. His favorite game is this, and he actually plays it regularly, and he would always
hmm
invite me to games, and I was like, I don't want to negotiate with people I don't know.
Yeah.
Like going to a
They'll
stranger's,
screw you over.
yeah, and it's like to me this is just much more fun with friends than
Yeah.
going to a stranger's house and playing with them. It's like I don't know. I guess that's how you make friends, but
Yeah. And I will
I like
say, because it always comes back to this. I love this game. One of the big reasons that Arcs stands out is that you have that 8 hour big campaign that totally rivals TI, and I like that they built in that you can split it and play it in multiple sessions.
yeah,
You can store that, which is great because every time I go to BGG Con, I want to play TI, and I think with all my friends, since we've all played and we're all good, we could play that game in like 4 to 5 hours
yeah,
easily. I think,
yeah,
but every time I mention it at the con, they're like, "Well, we don't want to waste a whole day of the con playing this game,"
right,
and it's like, guys, I really don't think it'll be that bad, like. And they're like, nah, it could go too long. But this year, we're going to play an ARCS campaign. And it's great that we can be like, cool, we'll play each game once each day and we'll
yeah.
play a whole campaign. And you can't really do that with TI,
No, you can't.
which is fine. Like, by the way, I'm not saying that's why ARCS is better. I'm saying it's
Hmm.
just, I like that ARCS has that feature. And I wish there was something you could do that with, you do with TI. Like, you get a board game table that you could put over the top, which is fine.
True.
But also, like, the epicness of playing a full 8 hour game is also awesome in its own right. Like,
Yeah.
so, you know, I like
Yep.
it. Okay. Number two is my controversial pick that I know is really going to tick you off.
Hey, I
Um,
already know what it is.
what do you think it is?
Oath.
It is Oath. Yeah. Number two is Oath. Sorry,
Whatever.
not sorry. Oath is a masterpiece. It's so good. I love it so much. It's incredible.
Anyway,
I
what's
thought
your
you were
number
gonna,
one?
thought you were gonna yell at me for a little bit there.
Dude, it's not one. It's been 2 years or whatever since I played Oath.
Yeah, that's
So
fair. I
I like
actually, to get ready for this, I actually watched your Oath review as well yesterday.
oh
Like,
really?
yeah.
I do not even remember what I said on that.
I mean, it was negative.
I don't even remember what I gave it. I think it's like a five.
5. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a 5. Y'all were all down the middle on it pretty much.
Um like it's not the game I was wanting it to be.
Yep.
And uh like and I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I wouldn't even it is definitely a camp. Like it's funny because the same friend who loved TI also really liked Oath, and
hmm
he's kind of in the same boat I am now because you just don't get this played.
Yeah. That
Like
is the
this is
one
a
knock
lifestyle
against.
game for the same people who like this is the only game you guys have,
Yeah,
and
it's
this
the
is
one knock against Oath for sure, my opinion.
so I don't play games like that. I'd much
Mhm.
rather actually have campaign games
Mhm.
that I try and play. And I mean, I couldn't even really tell you specifics on mechanisms at
Because it's
this
been
point.
so long. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for
I'm not gonna
me,
yell at you for a
yeah,
game
that's fair.
you put
So
because you like it.
as you know, I hated Root. And because I hated Root, I like had a vendetta against like I just thought like Cole really makes terrible games. And I remember vividly while I was still hating Root, I watched the Shut Up and Sit Down review of Oath. And I thought at the time it was the most ludicrous thing I had ever seen. Like listening to him explain Oath, I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's so overly complicated. It's so unnecessarily convoluted. Like there's this bit in the review where he pulls out this whiteboard where he's explaining like the oath rules and it's like completely full with all these notes and random things. And he's like,
Yeah.
hurt, you know, it's kind of like a joke. But I just
Hmm.
remember seeing that and being like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I was like, he's doubled down. It's like it looks worse than Root. Like, oh my goodness. And then I came around on Root
Yeah.
and I went back and watched the Oath review again and was like, oh dang, that sounds kind of interesting. And then I watched, I think a teach. I watched some other reviews and then I watched Cole teach the game because my biggest thing was I was like, it still looks way too complicated. And then I
Hmm.
watched Cole teach a game, and I went, oh, that's actually not too bad. Like he made it really clear. And then I started learning like, how like the legacy, I say in quotes, how the Chronicle system, that's right, the Chronicle
Yeah.
system works. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. So I went ahead, I got it. I started, this is how I actually get into games or movies or anything. I like kind of have an inkling of something. I start looking up some stuff. And then I go down a rabbit hole of research. And then it's like, well, I have to try this thing. So
Yeah.
like that's how I usually watch movies and shows and things. And this is one of those. And I bought it. And we had a really bad first game experience trying to teach players about it. But
Yeah.
ever since then, I just think Oath is magical. Like when I talk about like immersive and narrative games, like TI is up there for sure. But Oath is and Root is up there and Arcs is up there. But there's something about Oath that I feel so immersed in like the world of the game and the story that I'm creating with everybody while I'm playing it. Like I can see everything happening so vividly and like writing the narrative in the little chronicle afterward is like some of the most fun. And you know and I haven't gotten to play it as much as Root or Arcs, truthfully.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's kind of a lifestyle game. I would love to have a group where I play this, once a week or once a month. Um, I've gotten to do it a couple times. There's been a
Hmm.
couple times. One time, funnily enough, the biggest group I've gotten to play is with my family who hated Root. I brought it to Thanksgiving vacation one week. We had like a week and we played one game a day for like the whole week. And it was so much fun. Like it
Yeah.
was just a magical experience. I can still pull up the Chronicle book and show you like the whole story of the game that we told.
Right.
And like
And
that's the biggest knock
that's
against
the
Oath.
player that Cole wanted for this game.
Exactly.
You and the
Yes.
five other people who still do this
Exactly.
is
Yes.
and I mean you can't say Cole is not an ambitious designer. I think he had Root that is grounded,
Hmm.
quote unquote grounded. Then you had Oath that was not at all, like no one reined him in.
Yeah.
And then you have Arcs, I think is that middle ground where it's like, oh, like I can actually
Yeah.
kind of play this game at any given point
Hmm.
with new people.
I love, I like that Cole doesn't try to make games for everybody. I like that he's like, I know the kinds of people who are going to like this game and I'm going to make it for them. Because if
Yeah.
you are one of those people, it's like incredible. It's like a 10 out of 10 experience, which is awesome. And like, I don't mind that. Like, it's the same thing with like movies and shows. Like, I love, when I watch a movie, I'm like, I know this isn't going to be for everybody, but man, like it totally just checks all of my boxes.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
love this
I
so
mean,
much.
to
And
me,
Oath is
this
like that
is
for
this
me.
is King of the Hill, the game.
Yeah, it
Like,
is.
and that again, that type of play style isn't for me, especially if it's like, because I usually don't like to. If I win one, then it's like I know the next game is everyone against me,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, this is I just don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, the biggest part, so like I know you've played like what once or twice, and I hate saying this because again, this is what I mean by it's the biggest knock and the commitment that you were talking about, both with the consistent players and consistent play time. It really comes alive when you play it multiple times in a row because the change on the Chronicle system is gradual, which is why it's so interesting, right? Like how does history change slowly over time?
Yeah,
You take a copy 10 games later, you can see how much the world of Oath has transformed. And it's because of what the players did, which is so cool. And
yeah,
if you talk to those players, they can be like, oh, yeah, I can tell you why chaos is reigning in Oath. It's because of like this one reign where somebody used too many these chaos denizens and they unleashed all this, bad stuff on the land and we've never gotten out of this hole, which is just cool, right? And another cool thing is like as you play more and more, you develop like personal relationships with the different denizen cards in the game. So like for instance, my family, like we have this attachment.
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
yeah.
okay, that's fine.
You develop
My
relationships with the cards.
with the cards,
So are your
exactly.
cards sleeved or are they
They
kind
are
of?
sleeved, yes, of course. I mean, like you just get attached to them. Like, for instance, my family, we this one card came into the game. It's called the Gambling Hall, and we all love going to the Gambling Hall and gambling. It's just so much fun. And it got to a point where there's like the game, but there's the meta game of like I want to win, but also if I win, the Gambling Hall might become dispossessed. Like it might get destroyed by the new ruler. So you get to these weird situations where like, well, I want to win, but I don't want to lose the Gambling Hall. Or I want to win, but I don't want to lose the Errand Boy because I really like the Errand Boy or the Wizard Tower. And like that's what I mean is like as you start going further and further down, the not only do the player relationships get interesting, not only do you see the world change, but you feel attached to like what you describe as like real places or real characters. You're like, man, like this gambling hall has been here for 100 generations. Like we don't want to lose it. Like it's like part of our world now. Like we don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And if like it goes into the dispossessed, we all like are sad because we love that card,
You know what you need?
So
You need a good D&D group.
I wish I had a good D&D group. I really
Um,
do need a good D&D group.
but I mean, it is really cool, and I'm saying this genuinely. I'm not trying to be like facetious. It is really cool
Yeah.
that your experience with Oath was that,
Yeah,
because that shows what the design of the game was supposed to be. For
exactly.
me, your comment of like, well, you played it like twice, is the same idea as like, well, the show gets really good once you get to season three. Fuck
Yeah, I
that.
know. I
Like,
know
I'm
that's
not
why I
doing
hate
that.
saying that.
Yeah,
It's the
it's
one
like
thing I
no,
hate.
it is entirely acceptable, especially for this game, to bounce off. And I
Hmm.
think that's the problem is where people will like, and we talked about this in the review and rankings video, discussion that I did. For me, people to kind of have a weird sense of elitism whenever it's like, well, you didn't play it 20 times. It's like
Yeah,
because I have a fucking life, or
exactly.
30 other games that I haven't touched that I can
Hmm.
like from. Like when people are like, well, I really want to like it. It's like you shouldn't have to want to like it. You
You should
should
like it.
like it from the get-go.
Agreed. Yeah.
And it was enough that I think our first game was also not great.
Hmm.
Either I think we were actually drinking the first time
That doesn't
we played
help.
this. It did not help. So we played it, finished it. We weren't like shit faced, but it was like,
Hmm.
okay, let's sober up and play it again the next day. And played it throughout. And like I said, a 5 is an average game. Like I don't consider that necessarily a negative
Yeah.
ranking. Um, but I just knew this was not going to be a game I'm sitting down. Like there's a game that came out I think a year or two before this called U-Boot,
Hmm.
and it was a submarine game, and that game was like this is for weirdo submarine lovers, like those
Yeah.
people who are
Yeah.
way too into submarines. But there are those players. I'm not one of those players. I could sit down and talk about how Aeon Trespass Odyssey is one of the greatest games I've ever played,
Hmm.
but no one wants to sit here and listen to me read
Yeah.
about sci-fi Greek mythology.
Hmm.
So it's what Oath was doing is incredibly ambitious.
Hmm.
I just was never going to get into that where I look at a gambling hall card and get a semi while
Yeah.
looking. You know?
Yeah, no, and that's totally fair. Like, I think if like you really, really, really bounce off, I don't want to make it sound like I only like that and I don't like the actual gameplay because I do like the single session gameplay. If you don't like that, the nothing that Oath does in the meta game is gonna like work for you, right?
Right.
Like if you don't like the supply system, if you don't like, all the different cards you have to keep track of, if
Mm,
you don't like how like weird it can get with the how like you can just get locked out of things, like that's fine.
yeah.
Like you're not gonna vibe with that. Um, I do enjoy I like especially King of the Hill stuff. I guess I realized I kind of like King of the Hill stuff because like there's
Yeah.
something about Oath that I just find really exciting.
Which is weird because I like Inish. If you ever
Yeah,
played Inish,
I haven't played Inish, no.
it's in the same category as Kemet and Cyclades.
Hmm.
Inish is exactly like that with King of the Hill.
Yeah,
Well, no, it definitely is because when you are about to win, the only thing you can do on your turn is take a token and say, "I will win next turn," and
yeah.
then everyone has one round to try and stop you.
It's
But
kind of
something
this
about
works too.
Oath that just didn't. I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't really do that for me because I think of it. I expected it to be a campaign game, which it is technically.
Yeah, quotes. Yeah, kind of.
It's designed to be played, kind of like how you said with Arcs. Arcs was designed to be a campaign, but it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you can play it once.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the even though I think I still like Oath more, it's one of the improvements I think Ark's made in its campaign. One of the things I liked about its campaign mode is that it's like we're like this is a 3 game campaign,
Yeah.
like, and it'll be resettable and it'll always be different every time. But
Hmm.
I like that because there's that moment when I try to get people to Oath where I kind of like I'm like guys, like that I know like for instance I actually taught the two new people Oath about a month ago, and we had a fun single game. It was actually a really cool game, and by the end of it I showed how the map changes and everything, and then I had to do that bit where I'm like, okay, if we kept playing this,
Yeah.
it would change more and more, and we would like get more and more into it.
Hmm.
And I can tell when I look at them, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, because they want to play other games.
Yes.
And it sucks because like we played this game of Oath the other night and I was fired up. I was like, man, I forgot how much I love this game. I forgot how much fun I find it. And I want to play this. Like, I was like, I want to play this at least. Can we play it like at least like 4 or 5 more times maybe? And it hasn't happened. And I knew it
Yeah.
wasn't going to happen. And that sucks. And I
Yeah.
love that with arcs. When I pitch the campaign, I love
You
that I
have
can say
this.
this is 3 games and people that is much more digestible.
Yes. Yeah, that because I mean, does Oath have a definitive end?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
I found something that's fun to do is put a definitive end in it. So, like for instance, when
Sure.
we played at
So
Thanksgiving, we knew the end of Thanksgiving week that will be the end of Oath, and
you
whoever is
have
the
you
winner
have a
then,
DM's mindset.
yeah,
That's the exact same feeling as someone who finally gets someone to play D&D with them and they want to world build and all that, but they just know the commitment's not happening.
yeah,
Since I've moved back where my D&D group is, we took a 2-year break just because life happened, shit
hmm,
hit the fan and yada yada yada. But we are playing like an 8 to 10 hour session to wrap up the campaign. And I
yeah,
have a character that kind of like you were talking about with these cards and the feeling you get. I have a character that is the best written character and role played character I've ever had.
hmm,
But I vote because he was like, well, we can keep playing it or we can end the campaign. And I voted to end it because I didn't want to have another break.
yeah,
So I could see myself getting into Oath if someone else was managing the Chronicle system, if someone else was the DM.
yeah.
Because I don't
I
DM.
I
I am a
actually,
DM's best friend.
yeah,
I'm come to them with ideas. I just don't want to put them to work. And with Oath, I was going to be that person, just
yeah.
not
I
my
think,
personality.
well, I do think that's something that's one of the reasons I think arcs, the campaign arcs, is there's definitely somewhat an element of it that is a direct response to the shortcomings of Oath,
Yeah.
right? And I like how, the best experiences I've had of Oath is when a couple times I've been like, all right, guys, we're gonna play 6 sessions of Oath, and the winner of the 6th game is like the winner of like the whole game. And
Yeah.
we're just gonna see what story we can tell in 6 games. Like what's gonna happen to get to that 6, how much is the world gonna change? Right. So like
Hmm.
with my family that one week, we had what, like 5 days, I think. I taught them the day before, and it's like, all right, and we're gonna play. We played once a day for the entire break, and it was dope. And like it was very
Yeah.
monumentous. When we got to that final game, like tensions were high. Like we all wanted to be the winner at the end of
Yeah.
the fifth or sixth game. And I love that. I think maybe there's probably an element of they realized people were doing that, and that's why I think maybe that's one of the reasons like Cole was like, I want to explore something that definitively ends.
Yeah.
Because there's something fun about the campaign where like the first 2 sessions, you're like everybody knows the third game is the one that matters.
Hmm.
And we're
It's the
all trying to
finale.
build up for
Yeah.
that third game. And when you get to that third game, everybody's invested because like, man, I put in the work. I want to win, and everybody's fighting hard for that win. And when I do that, I think that's a good thing with Oath that you could do. But I like that also it could just play
Well, here's the
forever.
thing
Something cool
is
about
like
that.
because what I would do if that was this because whenever I'm playing D&D, I
Hmm.
don't min-max my character. I find
Same.
that I design a character that I want to role play and then I build the character. If I
Yeah.
was playing Oath and we were doing it the Chronicle system where like you were actually going to do the writing, you were going to do that, I wouldn't care about win or losing.
Yeah.
I would play thematically to make a
Hmm.
better story, which would, in my opinion, be a lot more fun.
Yeah. Role playing an Oath is actually super fun. And one of my favorite things to do is actually the winner of each game, they write in the Chronicle because then there was this fun effect with my family where we wanted to be the winner because the history is written by the victors.
Yeah.
So whoever wins, they get to write their version of events. And
Yeah.
there's nothing like when you like put in the effort and you're like trying to tell this cool story with your character and they ignore it in the Chronicle and you're like, oh, and you're like, I have to win so I can be in charge of the history.
Right.
Otherwise my family will be forgotten. Like what I did is forgotten in history if I don't win and like record it myself,
Yeah.
which is another just fun little element, which is totally optional by the way, but it's such a fun element to the
Yes.
game that I like. So yeah, like I know you don't like this game, which is fine. Or like I'm not. When people say they don't like Oath, by the way, I like totally get it. I'm like, yeah, that's totally fair. I
Yeah.
totally understand why you would hate this game. But man, oh,
I
I
don't hate this
love it.
game.
Yeah. No, wait, you don't like it. I don't think you
Yeah.
hate it. You gave it an average score,
It's
which is totally
5.
fine.
It's
Yeah.
fine. The game is fine.
Yeah.
Um, but your number one, let me see if I can guess your number one. I have two guesses.
Okay.
Um, and my first guess is originally I think is Sky Team,
Okay.
but I don't think it actually is just because um of your criteria for gaming.
hmm Yeah, Sky Team's
Uh,
a little too new. I only got it at Christmas
okay.
last
I
year.
guess it did come out last year.
Yeah. Although to be fair with
Um,
Sky Team, you can play that one so fast. I've played it like 60 times, I think now, so
dude, it's so well, I mean, you can't
because
even
it's
beat
so
a
quick.
mission.
Yeah,
Can't
let's
even
see.
beat a red
Hey now.
mission
Hey,
like a
hey, hey, hey,
loser.
hey. It's a hard mission. Let me look how many games I've logged on Sky Team. I've
I'm
logged
taking
53 games. So,
so my other guess, I would have said Six Siege originally.
mhm.
Um, obviously it's not Arcs, uh, unless you're pulling a fast one.
I just like
Um,
lying to you.
dude, it's my favorite game ever. I've played 10 games, so it defaulted to number one.
Mhm.
My second guess, I'll put maybe not. I'll say Heat.
Heat. Okay, hold on just one second. Ooh. Okay. So my number one game, uh, so I talked about how I like social games.
Yep.
This is a
Oh
social
shit, is
game
it
through and
Blood on
through.
the Clock Tower?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's Blood on the Clocktower.
I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. That's also new, isn't it? That came out like last year.
Yeah, but people have been playing it for a long time. Um, and when did I start playing it?
I'm
I
gonna look
started
it up.
playing it 2 years ago, I think.
Okay, it came out
Um,
2 years ago. Came out in
yeah.
22.
So
I've never played this game.
dude, it's so good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's like, okay, so it's a social deduction game. When I was younger, like when I went to camps and stuff, like Mafia was a big deal. Like we loved playing Mafia.
Hmm.
When I was like, in my high school groups of friends, people love playing Mafia, right? Like the original social deduction game, basically Werewolf as well. Um, and those are fun, but I had a lot of problems with those games. And that was the fact that for whatever reason, I was always one of the first ones eliminated in those games. And there's nothing that sucks more when you play Mafia than when you're the first one eliminated. You just have to sit there for what sucks, like sometimes 3 hours. Because when the people I played with, they would all goof off and stuff, which is fine. We're friends. But it's like, okay,
Yeah.
guys, if I'm going to sit here for 3 hours, y'all got to finish up this game because I want to play a game.
Right.
Like, we can't be
Yeah.
taking our time. Come on.
It's like I'm gonna just
Um,
go home.
yeah. And it also just kind of sucks to be like, somebody to accuse you and you're like, why? And they're just like, I don't know. And they're like, did I do anything
Oh
to you?
no,
And you're like,
you were
no.
this guy last time.
Yeah,
It's a new
what?
game.
It's a new game, dude. Yeah, hated that.
Yeah.
I love being the narrator in Mafia. I love being the narrator in Mafia because I participate the whole time and I like spicing up the game. Actually like
Mm.
narrating it, giving people characters. That's all fun and good. I love that kind of stuff. But the game itself, playing it is just like such a ugh experience, especially if like you're the bad guy and people nominate you for no reason and you lose and they're
Yeah.
like, haha, we got you. And it's like, you didn't do anything. You just guessed.
Yeah,
There was
right.
no, like, I didn't say anything that made you suspicious of me. You just decided to shoot me for no reason.
Yeah.
I hate that so much. So eventually we graduated to playing the Resistance.
Okay.
And the Resistance is fun. I like the Resistance. There's no storyteller. It's automatically run, which is
No, the
dope.
resistance is good at
Mhm.
the highest player count because the first mission isn't a given.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So my family and I like the Resistance, and I played the Resistance a lot. But it's like the same kind of issues. You can just do something and people be like, well, we just think it's you. Or you just get to the end and it's like, well,
Yeah.
there's literally no way to puzzle this out. We're just going to take shots in the dark,
Yeah.
which is fine. And then I found Blood on the Clock Tower. And oh my gosh, it was an absolute game changer. Like all the problems are gone. So, like, for instance, when you're eliminated Blood on the Clock Tower, you lose your character ability, but you still participate in the game and your role is not revealed to the group. So you can still help your team, right? If you're evil, they don't know
It's
you're
not
evil.
okay, it's
It's
not
not
revealed
revealed.
to okay.
Yeah, if you're good or evil and you die, your token is not revealed. So you
Okay.
are still actively participating in the game. If you're on the good team, you're still trying to figure out who the bad guy is. If you're on the bad team, you still get to act like you're on the good team trying to figure out what's going on. You still get to help the evil team.
Okay.
Now you don't want to die because you lose your character ability, which is bad, obviously, but you
Yeah.
still get to participate in the game, which is dope. And you only have the other fun, excitement thing is that you only have one vote for the rest of the game if you die. So you still get to vote on
Okay.
something, but you get to wait until the most important votes, right?
Yeah.
Which is
So
dope.
it's kind of like, have you ever played Deception? Murder in Hong Kong?
No, but I've heard
Okay.
reference to that one a lot.
Okay, because
Yeah.
it does the same thing. Everyone gets one guess to
One
see
vote.
who the killer is, and then you
Yeah.
also have to get the matching, like the method and the weapon.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and there's a traitor in that, so
Yeah, you'd find the
you get to
traitor.
participate the whole game too. Okay,
Yeah. So
gotcha.
that's like the biggest thing solved. If I go down early, I'm not mad like I was in Mafia because I'm still
Yeah.
in the game, which is dope. The second thing is something I don't like about Mafia and Resistance, especially Mafia though. When people are like, "Hey guys, we're introducing these 5 cool new character abilities to this game of Mafia," you're like, "Dude, dope!" And you're just a regular village member. You're just kind of like, "I'm not doing anything this game. I'm just
Yeah.
cannon fodder," and it kind of sucks. The second thing Blood Clocktower does is everybody has an ability that impacts the game, whether it's negative or positive. You are changing the game completely. You're either gaining some kind of information, you're hampering the good team. I love there's like you could be on the good team and have a helpful ability, and you could be on the good team and have a harmful ability, and that's also fun. And
Okay.
then also I like that on the evil team, there's not just the bad guy killer. They have some helpers, some minions. So you could be on the evil team, but not the killer. So you can like help out the killer. But if you die, it's not the end of the game. All right, so there's just a lot of things. One, that everybody has an ability, which is dope. So you always feel like you're doing something. There's always something you can do with the character role. And secondly, the 4 types of roles just like make the game more exciting. Um,
I'm
and
looking at the
then
player count. I was like, why haven't I played this? And it's like 6 to 21 players
yes.
and best 9 to 12 is what, and I'm like, I will never play this game.
Well, the cool thing is there's an online app that you can play, which is dope.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so maybe if we play online again, I can invite you because we have a group that plays,
Okay.
and it's actually like, oh, it's so cool.
Number
Or
one
you can play
party
it at a
game
con.
though.
Cons are great ways to play it as
Yes,
well.
it is
You can
definitely
always
a
find a group at a
convention
con.
game,
Yeah.
for sure.
So it's just really dope, and I like that. The third thing it does is that characters have like abilities that are like up to interpretation, and the storyteller or the game runner, they get to decide how to like kind of trigger people's abilities, which means they can the storyteller isn't just like they're participating in the game because they're
Okay.
creating a puzzle for the players to solve. And being a good storyteller means like kind of helping both sides and giving them both the tools they need to beat the other and seeing if the players can figure out the puzzle that you're giving them, which is so much fun. Like actually storytelling is almost even more fun than playing the game. Like they're both fun. But it's fun to being like, okay, this character learns this kind of piece of information. How am I going to give them that information, right? That could go, one of two ways, which is so fun. And so in all that way, like this to me is easily like the best social deduction game I've played. It's one that, I talk a lot about how my wife doesn't love a lot of complicated games like this. This can be a very complicated game. She is head over heels for this game. We will talk about in-depth strategy with each other on this game. We talk about how much we want to play this game all the time. Like we talk like
Yeah.
all the time. We like want to create custom characters. We're gonna get tattoos of our favorite character token eventually, like matching tattoos.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we
I
played
would
this.
advise, I mean, as someone who has tattoos, I would advise against getting matching tattoos,
That's
but
fair.
all
Yeah.
right, it's your
Um,
lesson to be learned.
Listen, we're both going to get our favorite Blood on the Clocktower tokens. I don't know if they're necessarily be matching, but we haven't committed to it yet.
Yeah.
And we
I think
just,
your tattoo artist should advise you against that.
yeah,
Be like,
no
hey man,
kidding.
I know you think.
Yeah. And we got really lucky in the sense that before we moved, we had a big group of friends because we were close to where we went to school. We had a big group of friends who were living around the area, and we got them into it. And we actually, this is total. We got to a point where we were playing every 2 weeks regularly.
Oh, nice.
From like 7 p.m. to late in the night, we would have a big group that came over to our apartment and we would play Blood on the Clock Tower. And
Cool.
it's genuinely the best gaming moments I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
We still have this, even though we've moved, so we don't have a regular group anymore. We can play online, which is awesome. So we still play
Yeah.
with them online, and we still like talk. Like Blood on the Clock Tower has brought all of us together closer than we were before. And also, I found that it's one of those games that you can play with complete and total strangers, and you will bond to every person in that group like very quickly. So the first time I played this was at BGG Con. We went into we went into the room and it was like 15 people I'd never met before. By the end of this one game, I knew every single person by name, and we met each other the next year at the con, and we were still talking about this game that we played a year
Cool.
ago. So it's one of those kinds of games. It brings people together. It's fun for people who aren't as into games, but if you want to go deep with strategy, it's also fun. There's like hundreds of characters available, and you can make your own custom scripts, different combinations of characters.
Neat.
So there's just like everything. Like it's good for casual people. It's good for like people like us who like play, like get real in the weeds with games like these. It's just perfect. Like, so I know I just ranted for like 10 minutes, but like, yeah, it's incredible.
No, you're good. I mean, it was rated number one party game on BGG,
Mhm.
which I remember when this game came out, it was like highly sought after and people were raving about it. Um, but because of the player count, I was like, there's not a shot that I will ever get this played.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I don't do a lot of con events, just because I don't know. I get like weird time anxiety where it's like, okay, I'm playing Blood on the Clocktower at 8 p.m. It's 10 a.m. Can't
Yeah.
do anything. I don't
Yeah.
know why I
And
do
also, if
that.
you're playing at a con, part of the fun is, we're all taking our time, so it could go longer,
Yeah.
which is totally fair. But I don't know, man. It is, to me, a magical, magical game. And I'm not even talking about, like, I could pull out, here's the game. It's actually over here. It's not on my shelf. It's hidden over here.
Okay.
The game box is this giant purple book tome,
Yeah.
and it's part of the story. I don't know if you've seen, like, when people play it, the box is how you run the game. So you
Oh,
pull out the box, you put it together. It looks like a giant book that you hold, and the storyteller has all the tokens that they arrange inside the book with like the character sheet on the side. And so they're carrying around this giant book as they storytell, and it helps them keep track of all the complicated stuff going on in the game in a very simple way. So not only is the box cool, it's a component in the game, which is just so cool. It comes with like a little stand too that you can set the book on a table, so it sits upright.
so in the
Cool.
description it says if you arrive late to a game, you can enter after it started as a powerful
Yes.
traveler character.
Yeah, that's another fun thing about it is if you have to leave early or if you come late, there are characters
Huh.
designed specifically
That's
for that.
that's amazing.
So like if you go to a con, like
Try
if
and
you're
show
like
up late.
well no, like if you're like, hey, I can only play for an hour and a half, they'll give you a traveler role and you can like participate on either the good or evil team. You'll have a cool, powerful ability. You'll have a chance to use it, and then you can like leave whenever you want, and it won't affect the
That's
game, which is
cool.
awesome.
So
Like,
how do you like what's the goal? How do you win?
oh, it's like Mafia. You're trying to, if you're on the good team, you're trying to execute the demon. So you have to
Okay,
figure out who it is, you execute them. And if you're the demon, you're trying to kill everybody until there's only two of you left.
I see.
So it's
Okay.
like the same thing. They just like fix all the problems of the games and they make it way more fun and more
Gotcha.
strategic. And
Well,
the
I've never,
best thing,
I've never
yeah.
played Mafia or Werewolf.
Oh,
Again,
gotcha.
they're all massive,
Big party games.
big party games that I'm
Yeah.
just never
Yeah, so
involved
you're
in.
trying to, yeah, as a demon, you're trying to kill off until there's only two of you left. And the good thing is unlike those games, which is kind of like vibes, people are getting information, and you can actually like solve who it is based on like
Okay.
abilities you have and logic. So it's not just like, oh, I
Now, if
don't
there's
like
hundreds
Seth,
of
I want to
char,
vote him out. It's
yeah,
like, hey, I learned that either Seth or this person next to me is evil, and this other person next to me died. So it must be Seth. Like things like
gotcha.
that, which is dope. And then as the demon, it's fun to try and twist the information. So you don't just be like, guys, it's not me. You get to like sow false seeds of info that like
So how do
totally
you
derails the whole
use
table.
player powers without someone being like, well, he just used that power. I know exactly who he is.
Because anybody could be lying at any time. It's
Oh,
advantageous for both the good and the evil people to lie.
so
So if somebody says, "Hey,
got
I
it.
used this ability," for instance, as the demon, I could be like, "Hey, I'm using the Slayer ability to check if this person is the demon." Oh, they're not the demon, but the Slayer was never in the game. I was just lying, and now everybody's
Got
like,
it.
"Wow, this person who was my minion is totally innocent," and you've just totally like I could just be lying. And as the good person, you might have really good info, and you might just lie and say, "Hey, I'm something else," so
Hmm.
that the demon won't want to kill you because you don't want the demon to know you're super powerful, right? So
I
both
see.
sides will be lying about their role, and anything anybody says could be like. That's why there's always a little bit of paranoia there, which is really cool.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'd say fantastic pick.
Yeah.
I've never played it, so I have no idea. Um, overall, uh, really solid list. I think, yeah, there wasn't really any game on there that I was like,
To
um,
both.
I mean, well, I mean, you kind of, I mean, the passion behind your pick for Oath, I was like,
Mhm.
you know what? Maybe it's a 6 out of 10. No, still five. But, but yeah,
You know what? Maybe I'll commit to a whole chronicle.
you know what? Just move to Missouri,
That's
and
fair.
then you'd have a consistent gaming group.
Yeah, that's true.
Just uproot your life to play board games. That's true
Hey,
commitment right there.
I would do it.
Um, just get divorced. Look, as someone who's gone through it, it's actually not that
Yeah,
bad.
I'm sure it was
But
amicable. Is you said it was amicable, so of course it
it
wouldn't be that
was,
bad.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like I best case scenario for something like
Mhm.
that. Anyway, solid top 10. Um, that is it, everyone, I guess. Let us know what you think of Ethan's games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.